The health of Pope Francis. The Vatican says his condition is now critical and that he is not out of danger. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from Rome with the latest. Marcus, good morning.
Oh, wait, good morning. The late word from the Vatican is that Pope Francis slept peacefully overnight, but this new statement does not indicate that there's been any change in his condition.
At what happened to the Bibas family. We know that Hamas abducted this family on October 7th. We know that the children were brutally murdered. Hamas claimed they were killed in an airstrike. It made that up. The terrorists murdered those two little children with their bare hands, and then they mutilated the bodies to try to create a cover story. We know that they released those children in special coffins with a low handle so they would be held at foot level, with mislabels so they were labeled as each other, and then they sent back a body that was not their mother, but some random unidentified corpse.
Tate's facing allegations of trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, and money laundering alongside his brother. Both have denied the charges. They also deny allegations of rape and human trafficking that have been made against them here in the UK, where police are seeking to extradite them.
Argentine President Javier Milei is facing calls for impeachment after promoting an obscure cryptocurrency. The value of Libra soared after he posted his endorsement on X and crashed within hours after he deleted it.
Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. It's Sunday, which means we're going to take it all around the world for this week's headline news, starting with the fact that Pope Francis is in critical condition.
He doesn't look good.
So, okay, we're going to start this. I didn't get a chance to say this off camera, okay?
You don't want to talk about how bad he looks?
Well, we can do so in a way that I would like to. We're going to showcase
we're going to be nice about it?
No, we're not going to be nice about it. When evil...
No, we're not going to be nice.
Comes from within.
Something has changed with that man.
He doesn't look good.
He looks like a really, really bad, villain in a movie.
That's a great way of putting it.
You know how they
because there was a Star Wars character that was coming to mind that I didn't want to say out loud because that felt
too much.
It does.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you that. Hang on, I'm trying to center you. Look what
do you guys want to take a vote
about whether we should be blunt?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's the deal. If you've never watched our show before and you don't know anything about Pope Francis, be like, why are you picking on the Pope? I'm telling you, this man's blood vessels, like every part of him is Satan.
It's not that he's a radical left liberal.
No. He is
possessed by demons, and
our name is Legion.
Here's the thing. How about this? And I'm just now coming to me. Thank you, Lord. God is reminding me that how unhappy he is with Pope Francis. I spearheaded the deconstruction of all of the actual moral and good priests under Pope Benedict. Okay, Pope Benedict was pushed out. And if I recall, they had to go through a couple votes to get Francis, which means they didn't all want him.
And
they all did. And he's part of the Jesuits, which means that the Jesuit line tends to come from like that secret society line where you can lie, you can cheat, you can steal, and he also under him he at times he would say, the church reaffirms its views on
marriage being between a man and a woman and all of those things.
But under him, they now aren't they blessing gay couples?
Yes.
And the all of these
sacrilege.
All of these places where they train the priest, these monasteries and things like that, they have turned incredibly gay, and it's now become this like gay beacon. Cardinal McCarrick known to be to groom young men, and I just really want to point this out.
Here it comes.
Our minds and bodies are not fully developed until we are adults. And it's like what they say, 23, 24, 25.
I think that year keeps going up and up.
Okay. But by fully developed, I mean that there's the development you can be imprinted upon.
Mm-hmm.
And there, people can say, you can tell me, oh, the age of consent is 18. But when you are entering into a position where, and I hate this is amongst the church, where you have a hierarchy and somebody at the top who is supposed to be a spiritual or educational leader, and you're there to receive from them.
Right.
What happens is you don't, and this is the Holy Spirit, I believe on this, you don't have the ability to do a constant on-off. This is why you can't send your kids to public school, because if they have a liberal teacher and you're telling them that they need to have an on-off, on-off, no. You don't understand how they weave. I have a ton of books on how to weave Christianity into everything. If I educate your child, they are going to learn Jesus in everything. I will boldly tell you that I am weaving the story of Jesus Christ into how we can use Cheerios for math. Okay, we are using Jesus and the Bible for everything. I'm going to let you know that. But an atheist, and especially those with activist principles, and here's the thing, even if they didn't have an activist agenda, those who took God out of the education had an activist agenda, so it's already baked into it. The glyphosate is in there. Even whoever serves it, you could be a Christian and you're serving somebody glyphosate. You can have a Christian teacher, but the education and the textbooks is glyphosate. So what has happened in the Catholic Church and amongst the raising up of these young priests is now under Pope Francis, it's all gay. It's all homosexual, and it's baked like glyphosate into the actual everything is dripping of it. And you have who's the good guy? The Vigano. He's on the outs. Why is Vigano on the outs? Because he's like still holding to the morality. We can differ, and people don't agree with me on this. I don't care. We can differ. It's not on what kind of extras you believe outside that have nothing to do with morality, whether you venerate Mary, whether you're going to this Marian apparition or different things like that, unless it turns into a cult based on a lie. Good people can believe certain things outside of like how you... Good people can interpret the Bible in different ways and interpret church history in different ways, okay? With a heart that loves God. Mm-hmm. Then there are those who are literally lying to people, trying to change and break their morality, which is what Cardinal McCarrick did with these young minds who may not, and I would venture to say were not gay when they showed up.
Yeah.
But you're there, and what he would do, and this is under Pope Francis. Pope Francis covering all this stuff up. Okay, if he pulls these gay cardinals into him. Everybody knows that the Vatican is some sort of gay orgy fest place, and I don't say that as like a Pizzagate thing. Like that's legit. Mm-hmm. And so you want to show him a picture of this guy, or just play one of these videos?
Here's the thing. The video.
So yeah,
is it the YouTube?
I have about 3 YouTubes up.
The health of Pope Francis.
I know I'm not screen share. We'll just start with the Good Morning America
Look
one.
at you feeling so sad because he's your little liberal leader.
The Vatican says his condition is now critical and that he is not out of danger. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from Rome with the latest. Marcus, good morning.
Is that Marcus right behind him?
Oh, wait, good morning. The late word from the Vatican is that Pope Francis slept peacefully overnight, but this new statement does not indicate that there's been any change in his condition from yesterday when the Vatican said that he continues to be in a critical condition. We know that the Pope suffered an asthma attack yesterday and required extensive oxygen treatment. He also underwent a blood transfusion to increase the level of red blood cells and platelets in his system. Doctors say his prognosis is reserved, and we hear from Vatican sources that he is undergoing further tests.
he has breathing issues. It's because his collar is too tight. Listen to man's collar. It is flowing. I just realized it is listen, you can accentuate the positive and you can hide the negative. And I'm telling you something. This guy is trying to wear his 30 waist jeans and for his neck collar when this man has asthma. He needs to breathe. Let the man breathe.
Today, and that he continues to use oxygen therapy. Now, this morning, the faithful gathered here in Rome for services which went on despite the Pope's absence. And in the text of his Sunday noontime greeting, he released a personal message that he's confidently continuing treatment at Gemelli Hospital, and he thanked the team of doctors, adding that rest is part of his therapy. Now, in a sign that he is still working, the Pope acknowledged that tomorrow marks the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine. A situation, he said, that is a shameful occasion for the whole of humanity. It is unclear when the Pope might be released from the hospital.
Okay, so y'all, you want to be, that's what you want to do with your last week of your life. You want to weigh in on Ukraine. Did you know it's either 70 or 90 Nigerian Christians were massacred? I would think that might be a little bit more important to say right before you die.
So I want to throw in, because you guys tune into our show and we always say it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. I would like to throw throw a ball into the court of the real conspiracy theorists that actually watch our show, however many of you there are, okay, that say that the elite I do believe they drink the baby's blood, but like that they have, hang on, I'm getting to that point. Don't steal my punchline. That they have all of this technology. Like, I hear this all the time. You do realize that they have like 30 or 40 years advance in technology that they're just not telling us. And like all these elites can stay alive, yada, 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 and they're just not telling us. I am here to tell you a fact, a bona fide facto. Okay.
Did I say Nigeria? It's the Congo.
God created the human body. And we go back to a very interesting story in the Bible called the Tower of Babel. And when mankind almost reached heaven, I don't even know how that works, unless it's just talking about outer space, and God didn't want them in outer space, but whatever. I think that there's something spiritual there, that they did almost reach something that they should not touch. I don't think that God is going to allow mankind invincibility. Okay? And so the proof of that is that you don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to say that Pope Francis is part of the elite, and yet that the elite all have these, like, they can live forever buttons or whatever. You know what they have? They have glutathione. They have vitamin C drips. They have all these things that the natural treatments that they have been keeping hidden from us. I don't think it's super technology, maybe the baby's blood. I don't think it's super technology that they're keeping from us. I think it's the natural remedies that they are keeping from us. But even with that, you can tell whether it's Hillary Clinton or Jabba the Hutt, I had to say it one time, sitting here, okay? We
didn't even take a vote.
And Bert Boss says he looks like Voldemort and his Death Eaters.
With an extra chin.
You can tell that there is no technology that is going to overcome your gluttony.
Oh.
All right? I said it. I'm just saying that they are
Pope.
being eaten from the inside out with death. They reek of death. And if I want to sound like Alex Jones, where I will go with you is they probably do smell like sulfur. When you get around these people, their breath probably stinks. Their bodies probably stank. I said stinks. I don't know why I said that pluralized. They stinks. Okay. I'm telling you that that part is probably true. But as far as Jabba the Hutt here, I said it again. I'm so sorry. Living extra long, it does not appear that is the case. You know, he actually, when he became Pope, was a pretty, fit normal looking dude. What happened?
What happened?
Is that what, like, evil does to you?
That is what evil does to you.
Just saying.
That is what evil does to you. Michelle, I would like to acknowledge these Christians that the Pope is not acknowledging. Could you bring this video up? 70 Christians were beheaded Okay, there are horrible ways to die.
Is this a new video or one you've already got up?
I just had to bring this up. It's from CBN News. 70 Christians beheaded in the Congo.
Oh, wow.
And I just wonder where the Pope is on this.
70 Christians have been found beheaded. Yes, beheaded.
Wow.
In a church in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why is no one reporting this? Why does no one seem to care? Well, let me bring in Dexter Van Zyl, an expert on anti-Christian violence.
Wow.
Dexter, what can you tell us about this absolutely barbaric atrocity?
Okay, well, first of all, it took place in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a huge country with about 105 million people, that right now is basically in a conflict with neighboring Rwanda over territory in Kivu, okay? And the violence was perpetrated by an organization that was affiliated with ISIS. And the thing is that there are some people who have argued that they are essentially working on behalf of Rwanda, because Rwanda is a neighboring country that covets and is actually taking control of an awful lot of the mineral resources in Kivu. And so what this violence has done is demonstrated that the Congo cannot protect its citizens from violence in Kivu or in North Kivu. And so what people are worried about is that this is essentially an attempt to kind of destabilize the Democratic Republic of Congo and legitimize Rwandan claims to the minerals in the region. And I don't want to underestimate or downplay the ideological hatred by the perpetrators of this group who murdered these Christians. But the thing is that it's taking place against a backdrop of geopolitics in Africa. And what has happened is, and so if the Congo, under the leadership of Felix Tshisekedi, can't protect its borders, essentially it's going to have to go for help outside the country. And the people live there. And that's why people are worried about it. The Congolese that I've spoken to here in the States say, I said, wait a minute, are you telling me that the Rwandans are supporting this attack? And they said, yes. And I said, but Rwanda is a Christian nation. And they said, yes, but this will help destabilize the region where all of these minerals that are used for the iPhones that we make, that we use in our lives.
Yes.
And so clearly there's an ideological and a theological component going on, but there's also a strategic issue as well.
Oh, that's
it's terrible, isn't it? It's as a former Peace Corps volunteer, I served in the Congo for about a year, 14 months in the 1980s. And the problem is that if this violence is allowed to continue and the average Congolese learns and recognizes, and the violence like this against Christians perpetrated by jihadists is not a new problem. It's been a problem in North Africa for a long time. And the problem is that trying to get people to pay attention to it is very difficult.
Well, that's my second question is, you see the headline, 70 Christians beheaded, and you think, what? You almost can't fathom that headline. But is Islamic violence against Christians in Africa, is this an anomaly, basically?
Oh, no, absolutely not. This takes place in a number of countries throughout the region. And there are some people who are worried that essentially what we're looking at is a jihad against Christians in numerous other places in North Africa. And routinely, we hear reports of these acts of violence. And the problem is that what happens when the Christians start to fight back? Are we going to start to see the equivalent of an interreligious war in the continent? And the problem is that there's going to be huge problems with this. The problem is that, first of all, the reason why this doesn't get as much traction as, say, the conflict, the Palestinian suffering in Gaza is because there's just not that many reporters on the ground. And the Congo is a huge, dangerous place to be a reporter. And frankly, also, there's just a fair amount of ideological indifference to anti-Christian.
You mean it's safer in Palestine to be a reporter than in the Congo? So this horrible, awful place, this death place and he's literally saying that it's just not safe to be there, and so we're not going to report on it.
Right.
But that means that probably is something that needs to be reported on if it's not even safe to report on it, right? Isn't that how reporting goes?
Yeah.
You just don't I'm going to report on the things that are safe for me.
Here's the thing. I'm not. Okay, yes, they should be reporting on it, but not from going. I don't think they need to go there. Is what I'm saying. I'm not blaming any reporter for not going down there.
Why isn't Paula White going to the Congo?
That's what I want to know.
Benny Hinn, have you been there lately?
Mm-hmm.
Christian violence on the part of reporters in the West.
And
Benny Hinn, I want to look at the dates. When did Benny Hinn start doing his crusades in South Africa and in Zimbabwe? When did he start going there after they destabilized? I guess he probably did, because Rwanda destabilized into Zimbabwe. But I just look at these Christians and Are these countries better off after you've been there?
Mm-hmm.
And Dexter, I think that's the question. You know, if you were to replace 70 Congolese Christian with any other minority group, 70 Palestinians were beheaded, 70 people at a pride parade were beheaded. This would be the biggest news story of the decade. And yet this just happened.
Africans.
And no one's reporting on it. And literally crickets.
It's racism.
George Floyd was caught with a bunch of drugs doing counterfeits, and they literally had a worldwide movement for George Floyd. Here's a real black men and women with their heads cut off, and everybody's like, what? No, don't care. Because you're telling me I don't need to care, I shouldn't care.
Right. And it's like that with Boko Haram when they murder people in Nigeria. There's basically crickets. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have essentially kind of an anti-Christian bias on the part of people who run the media. And the thing is that I think there's another factor is that essentially Christianity has been lumped in with essentially this whole notion of settler colonialism, and that whatever violence is directed their way is largely a consequence of the violence perpetrated by Christians in years past. But I'm going to tell you, I lived in Zaire, I lived in the DRC when it was called Zaire. And one of the reasons why I became a much more devout Christian was because of the church that I went to every Sunday morning as a volunteer. Okay. And I would go and talk to the local pastor when I had like spiritual crises as a volunteer. And the thing is that, so what has happened is that Black African Christians, okay, have suffered the consequences of hostility towards Western civilization and Christianity itself, in part because people don't care what happens to Christians unless it can be blamed. And part of it has to do with the fact that if the perpetrators are dark-skinned, well, then we're going to have to give them a pass. And it's a very, very strange milieu, so to speak, that we work in. But the thing is that unfortunately, this is the cynical side of me. I've been somebody that has documented hostility towards Israel for the past 20 years. But if the IDF were responsible for these beheadings, it would have made the front page of the Washington Post and the New York Times and every newspaper throughout the world. And there would be, Israeli Jews condemning it as well. But the problem is that because it's essentially black on black violence, nobody cares. And there was a book called Stealth Conflicts by a scholar by the name of Virgil Hawkins, and he's a tremendous scholar. And he documented the number of newspaper articles about the civil war in the Congo. And this was at a point of time when 5.4 million people have died.
Wow.
There were a few dozen newspaper articles or a few dozen news shows or segments on it. But then when you looked at the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, which every one of the deaths is tragic, we're talking at this time maybe over a time frame of maybe 30 to 40,000 people had died. There were literally thousands of articles. So there were more articles than there were people killed during a specific period of time. And it had to do with, first of all, it was in people's interest that this conflict be covered. And more importantly, it was just easier to go to cover. The violence in the Congo is a huge country. It's kind of desolate. If you go there, there's a very good chance you're going to get very sick and you may not get good medical care. That was something that I experienced as a Peace Corps volunteer.
Yeah.
If you go to Israel, you can have a nice meal at a restaurant in Jerusalem the evening after you've basically covered a protest at the security barrier.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you're saying. It's selective outrage, and there's this line when people talk in the about Israel in the news, and you hear it a lot.
Okay, you can pause.
Which is this?
So that's really interesting that he made the comparison, because we do have to talk about something very tragic coming out of Israel this week. But I just want to take a moment and pray. Let's pray for the Christians in the Congo. Father God, I just pray over this the Democratic Republic of Congo, which used to be Zaire. I just pray, Lord God, that you would strengthen the Christians there, and that you would give them spiritual tools and weapons in this life as well, to be able to justly defend their homes, their families. I pray for angels to protect them. And I pray, Father God, that you would bring a fresh wind and wave of your spirit over this area of Southern Africa, and that you would begin to convict people of their sins, convict people and bring true repentance and true revival. And, Africa is a nation full of so many wonderful minerals and people would want to take advantage of that and use that. And I just rebuke that spirit of being able to use people and use things for your own selfish gain. And I ask, Father God, that you would send your missionaries there and send people there who would begin to help to transform and to build up society in the way that it needs to be built up. In Jesus' name, amen.
And we rebuke the spirit of darkness.
And darkness and death and evil.
Darkness and death that is over this area.
Amen.
This is spiritual warfare.
Amen.
Right? They need to know how to fight spiritually. So, Father God, I just thank you that you're going to be tearing down these spiritual strongholds.
Amen.
And you will establish a century of angelic guards that say you will not pass, and that the Christians will have the opportunity to come in and flush out that darkness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You know, I saw a video today of Black people hiking, making fun of how white people greet you and talk to you on a trail. And I don't know exactly what this it
Are you taking a commercial break here?
No, it kind of flows together because it's not Twitter, it's X now. So in my thought process, I'm thinking about Africa, and we all need to be let's see if I can find this. We all need to be aware of where they're at. And
I would help carry the conversation, but I have no idea where she's going.
I want to find this video.
So we just get silence until we find it, because Leah can't think and tweet at the same time.
Okay, so
I'll have to find it.
So these Black people are making fun of white people, and as they come down, as they're hiking on the trail, they're like pretending to be a white person, on hiking, and they're like, "You're gonna love the view at the top," or "You're almost there," or "It's kind of wet up there." And then the comments on it were like really racist, because these Black people were making fun of. It was not in good faith.
Okay.
It was, I can't believe these white people act like this. Like, literally, like, this is how white people act. And what's really strange is, like, well, don't Black people act like that too?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you, like, there is a trail etiquette when you're on the trail. When you meet somebody, you don't just walk past them, so you say something nice.
Right.
Okay? And it's rather than just smile, you're outside, you have a shared desire to experience something, and so you make a small talk in an encouraging way.
But this is stupid, because we've done a lot of hiking in our day, like a lot. And I've passed other Black hikers who use trail etiquette just like that. And they'll say,
I'll play this for you.
it's a long way ahead, like a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like that's so dumb. It's not even a white-Black thing. This is, whoever's saying this doesn't actually hike.
But the question is this cannot be what y'all think, that it's a Black-white issue. But I did have something. It
just means that they don't hike. Like, that's the only comparison that you can make, is hikers versus non-hikers.
That was a smile.
Yeah, I love the view. It's wet down there. Oh, is your guys' first time? Yeah, just like keep going down straight. The waterfall is gonna be on the left. You're gonna love it. Watch your step. It's so green. The color.
It's worth it.
So this very hilarious video is a group of Black people impersonating a very specific brand of white people. If you've ever been hiking and you've met white people on the trail, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're very happy, personable, hospitable. They're like truly in their element. This video is giving compliments and throwing no shade, but the responses to this video on Twitter is a beautiful case study, because white people see this video and they don't get the joke. And what happens when white people don't get the joke? They resort to gold medal, Hall of Fame racism. These white people did not get the joke.
This is actually Rob Smith, who is Black, by the way, and he's a gay guy. Whenever I see videos impersonating white folks, he's making fun of general pleasantry, lack of anger, and willingness to help strangers that is alien to most Blacks who are lost in anger, hurt, bitterness. They cannot imagine being any other way. Instead of asking why we are not this way, we make fun of people who are. It's actually quite sad. I hike. It's great. I've encountered exactly this white person on many a trail, and it never occurred to me to make fun of them or to find this at all odd.
Observational humor. Just immediately put on their pointy white hoods. This is golden.
So it's just very strange. And so what I was thinking of about is manners, and how I'm going to do like an anthropological, historical kind of deep dive.
Okay.
So as Christianity spread from the Middle East and went west, it got stopped to the east, kind of went to Ethiopia, but didn't go much further. Africa was largely pagan, full of witchcraft and demons and voodoo and witch doctors. Okay. The West, it had 2,000 years, by and large, of a giant Christian influence, for better or for worse. When you speak about Christianity, whether people live it or not, the message of Christianity, which does take root and did take root in millions of people, is to be kind, to be loving, to encourage one another, to lift one another up, to bless one another. Okay? And so what I find is that Africa is about 2,000 years behind. Africa just, when did the first, I think the missionaries that went to Africa were like in the 1800s. And so Africa really needs, and it is starting to get a huge dose of Christianity. I'm not saying that the West now lives by those Christian principles, but I'm saying that when for 2,000 years, Christianity has been the norm, and you are all forced to go to church, and you're forced to hear things, and the schools and everything are teaching you Christian principles, which are be kind, be gentle, love the poor, lift people up. Okay. It's in, and I'm just going to say it's in a historical anthropological thing that goes back into history, but it wasn't always that way. When St. Boniface comes up on the Druids, they're getting ready to sacrifice somebody in front of an oak tree. White people, by the way.
Right.
When St. Patrick went to Ireland, there was a Druids, and they were just as pagan, full of witchcraft, full of war and fighting.
Don't know if you didn't know it. At that time, the Druids were white.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
Yeah. And so, wherever Christianity was lacking, I mean, we're Swedish. I understand my past, okay? Not my past, but, back in the day, Vikings were not nice people.
There you go, one right behind you.
Vikings practiced...
That's mine. Get yours right over there.
Vikings practiced witchcraft. Odin's not real, by the way, okay? And going and pillaging all of the west coast of Europe, raping and stealing, is not a good look. Sweden.
Although this is a very good
I mean,
look.
if you're going to fight, let it be in defense.
Like, I would love to bring this back. Like, if I had like a real helmet like this, I might, and it was appropriate, I could wear it as a hat, like throughout, like going places. It might be difficult to get in and out of the car.
This is the same thing when you're talking about the Indians in America, right? The Native Americans, whatever you want to not call them. You had some peaceful tribes, but then, like in the Bible, there's even literally a verse that says, "And when it was the season to make war, men without God, they just go steal." It's war, okay? You go, you grab some women, it's the same 7 wives for 7 brothers, and they actually sing a song on it. It's hilarious, but don't do it. It's a bad idea. Sobbing women fit to be tied. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
they go kidnapping people.
Exactly. So every single culture, whether you're in South America, whether you're the plains of America, whether you're in the Middle East, it's always this, men are just making a season to make war. And that's why, and even Israel was making war all the time, all right? People making war against them, making war, just fighting, people dying. So many people died, Jesus came, and that is the radicalness of Christianity.
Yes.
That's the radicalness of the teachings of Jesus. The radicalness of the teachings of Jesus is that he can literally take a mind that is bent to war, that is thinking about how am I going to go conquer, steal, take something that doesn't belong to me, And the Lord's, and that's when Jesus is saying, do good to your enemies.
Right.
Okay. It doesn't mean, Congolese Christians feed the Rwandans who are getting ready to cut your heads off. It means Rwandans don't cut the heads off of the Christians.
Yeah.
We get it inversed.
Right.
To where now, unfortunately, the Christians are too nice and appeasing the evil.
I want to point something out to you. If they cut your head off, you don't even have the opportunity to turn the other cheek. So I don't think it means what you think it means.
I don't think it means what you think it means either.
Okay.
Right. I don't. The defensiveness in the Holy Spirit. So my point is this. Africa needs some Jesus.
Lots of it.
Okay. And cultures that have had a history to be redeemed, because Vikings would not have greeted people kindly on hiking trips either, just because they were white. They probably would have robbed from you, stolen from you, and raped your women and stolen your children. Okay? But now...
And eaten your heart out.
And eaten your heart out. Yeah, exactly. So, but now, since, Sweden became Christian, they realized we don't make war.
We don't eat hearts.
And we taught they taught their children, and the Germans, didn't sacrifice to Odin anymore because they cut the oak tree down and Odin didn't come and defend himself. So now we have Christmas. Yay, Christmas. Okay. We begin to teach about the Christ child. What is the Christ child? The Christ child comes to bring peace and bring unity and change your heart and your mind so you don't want to lie, cheat, steal, hurt people. Germany was white, okay? But they were still worshiping Odin, still sacrificing people. So it has nothing to do with the sacrifice, the color of your skin. But what it has to do is a culture that has had people who have had their hearts transformed. You know what I was thinking, I was really dwelling on this. The Bible says, I will take your heart of stone, which is what these Rwandans have when you have to have a heart of stone to cut somebody's heads off. I mean, you have no empathy. You obviously have detachment syndrome. Your mother didn't love you as a child.
Unless that person was like a murderer and a child molester, and this is their form of execution.
Right. Yeah. So, but what's happening with the Rwandese, they didn't know Jesus. They weren't loved as children. They weren't taught to love. They weren't taught to. So their hearts are hardened and their minds are just messed up. But I have good news for you. Throughout all of history, the Vikings' hearts were hardened, and God came in and changed them. Change their hearts, not just logic. It wasn't logic that came in and said, hey, just be nice.
Right.
They would cut your head off. They would eat your, and that's the same thing that happened with St. Patrick in Ireland.
Right.
He came in the power and the glory of God. How do I know that Christianity is real? How do I know that God is real? It's because the witchcraft and the druidism and and I know you guys think it didn't happen, but yes, it did. And the darkness that was on the face of the earth is no longer there in parts of the world. It is still there. So that's that. And
so I want to read some comments, and then I have my own commentary here. Take that away.
Okay. What if I want to wear my hat?
Rockabilly guitar. In all caps. I love you, ladies. I learned so much. It's really nice. Well, we love you too. That's not.
I don't get to wear. We don't do a lot of Scandinavian news, so I don't get to wear.
You
want to
wear it the whole show?
Very often.
Maybe we can wear them the whole show.
They're small countries. They don't make any, and they have nothing to do with our segment.
Okay.
Today.
Let's see. Warrior Edge of Time says, one of the reasons I come here for news. Sherry says, exactly. Without alternative media, we wouldn't know anything. James says, this is why Africa remains so violent today. Warrior Edge of Time says, support independent journalists and the First Amendment if you want the truth. Barry says, in virtually all nations in Africa, there are these kinds of deaths daily in the nations of Africa. They have massive tribal issues and have done for the last few hundred years. James says, I wouldn't visit that continent at all. Britt Baza says, it's the norm in Africa.
Somebody has to visit it because somebody's got to be the missionaries.
James says, it's going to take a lot of flushing, Michelle, when I said that we need to flush all of the evil out of those dark places. Barry says, Michelle, doesn't Leah know that it's not racist for a black person to say derogatory things against a Caucasian person in the Race Relations Act in the UK? That's terrible. Wicked Psych says, I smile and say hello to anyone I come across anywhere. I talk to people in the grocery store too. Well, then I came in late. Are they saying it's weird to be social in public? Not just specifically in public, but on the hiking trails. I'm going to get back to that video in a second. But if Barry says, but if a Caucasian says anything against blacks, they get the book thrown at them. Barry says, there's nothing wrong with the Druids. Barry, we've had this discussion. let me say my piece. Here's the deal. The Druids were practicing witchcraft. Witchcraft is Satanism. Satanism leads to hell. So you can say there's nothing wrong with them, and that's fine. But if you count going to hell for all eternity as wrong, I would say, yes, there's something wrong with them.
I'm pretty sure they sacrificed humans, Barry.
The Druids that didn't repent and become Christians are in hell right now. So you don't want to have been them. Now, it applies to anyone else that doesn't know Jesus, but by and large, the swath of Druids were practicing witchcraft. If you don't repent from that, you go to hell. So we don't want to say, hey, they were great.
Witchcraft, casting spells on people, not so good.
Exactly. Chris says, all kidnappers were punished in the real history of the nations. Barry says, Michelle, the Islamic peoples, otherwise known as the Barbary pirates from North America, actually stole people from the west coast of the British Isles, actually stole entire towns of people too and enslaved them. Then in the 1600s, the British Isles finally had a large enough navy to stop them. Hence the song Rule Britannica, or Britannia, Britons will never ever be slaves. It's not a racist song. It's a song stating that Islamic cultures can no longer steal people from the British Isles and then take them as slaves. Rockabilly Guitar says, just all the time, you're like a dictionary for me. LOL, great job and show. White witchcraft and all witchcraft is evil. Amen. Now let me go over here to YouTube, and then I got one more comment that I want to give on that video that Leah played, because I've been sitting there thinking about it. Don says, any news on out of Zululand, South Africa? My mom was there in 1950 to 55. Is true Christianity thriving there still? I have no idea. That's such a great question.
We do have some news coming out of South Africa in that there are many South Africans that are taking Trump up on the offer to come to America.
Oh, wow. Ballistic Mystic says, Pope ain't getting the nourishment of the human suffering that is being diminished in the United States. Biden carried Dagon, but was exorcised, and the Pope wears the Dagon costume and the big split mouth fish hat for the Dagon. That's the big hat he's talking about. But with all the prayer, fasting, and returning to Jesus by people with a personal relationship with God, the elites have inside information about health, but squander it with lust. That's a good point.
That's good.
Greater persecution of Christianity is not reported around the world. Rwanda may be a false flag perpetrated by globalist secret society types. I think it's probably true. We do know that Christians are being beheaded around the world. They don't have a problem doing that. America is generally not superstitious because Christianity doesn't encounter demons and demonic activity. And then my sister has my mother's antique Norwegian Bible hymnal that has a silver bee on the cover with a silver hinges and latch. That's awesome. That's super cool. Okay, so my final thoughts, if you missed the segment that we played earlier, because I've been sitting here thinking on this and I'm just getting a little bit irritated, okay, on this idea that hiking etiquette is now seen as a racial one-sided
It's literally just hiking etiquette regardless
and
of
this
race.
is the one part that I want to go back to, and then I'll be done. The one guy said he slips and then he goes, oops, watch it, it's slippery there. If you slip and then you don't warn someone that it's slippery, I'm not making a racist comment. I'm going to say that just makes you rude. Yeah. Like the fact that that's a white thing. What are you saying? That only white people will warn people? And then last but not least, you do understand that it doesn't matter what you do, you're wrong. Because if white people were passing black people on the trail, or anyone, if here's the deal, this is how it's perceived a lot of times. There are white people that are just flat out rude. They're rude to me, they're rude to Leah, they're rude to all white people. But what happens is if they're rude to a black person, then that black person unfortunately thinks they're just racist to me.
What if they were rude
That's
and
just
not
a rude
saying
person.
nice things to
so you see all these people hiking on the trail. What if these people never said a word and they passed these black people and they were just like stoic? Now they're racist. All white hikers are racist because white hikers never talk to anybody. It's
or
like
not talk to black. Okay.
I'm just saying this whole thing is ridiculous.
We got some things that are really important in life. That had nothing to do with like anything that was important. But enough to give a rant going. I hope all people go outside and
be
treat
nice
each
to
other
people.
nicely. Okay. All right. Now, this story was bad, and then it got worse, and then it got worse, and then it got worse. So you guys know that Hamas is releasing these hostages. We knew some weren't alive, even though they were taken when they were alive.
Obviously. There's no reason to take a hostage if they're not alive.
there is a family,
The
and we
Bobby's family.
saw the father. He was released on the 1st of February.
I think his name is Yasher. Is that right?
No,
No.
that's close though. Where is the video of them?
Yarden. I knew it
Yarden.
was a Y name. All right. Yarden Bobbies was released, and his two children,
And he
Ariel
didn't-
and Kiffer, were his children, and his wife Shuri, and they were all taken. Then he was released alive on February 1st.
I want to play this one first. These two babies and their mother's bodies were released, but I want to show you the baby. This is Ariel Bobbies meeting his new baby brother Kiffer for the first time.
So this is a Twitter. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is just home footage.
This is just home footage
video.
to give you an idea of who these people are.
Okay.
יש פה שלט ששמו לנו החברים שלנו הקוניואים. בוא.
עכשיו מה לא בקן. בוא, אני לא יכולה להרים אותך. בוא נעשה קצת. תכף אני אכנס לך.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable. Aww.
מה שלך? אתה רוצה לעלות? בוא.
That's adorable. So for the podcast listeners, you're just watching this absolutely adorable encounter with this little boy meeting his little brother for the first time. And he's brought him from the hospital, like super brand new special.
Okay, so I want you to go to the next tweet next to it. This is a video that Hamas released of them kidnapping this family alive.
The fact that they even released this.
ايوه استروها وخلوها لما تاخدوها حيه اعرفوا خليها تعرف معها اطفال نعم يا ريتني بحكي
And now for the worst story that I think we can do in a very long time.
I'm gonna play this YouTube.
Yeah.
Meantime, we want to bring in Elan Levy, the former Israeli government spokesman, here on Fox and Friends Weekend. I must say, I think I speak for just about everyone around the globe when I say our hearts break for the families who have been impacted by this circumstance, and more broadly, for a country that is clearly seething with anger on the one hand and yet relieved on the other. Can you sort of walk us through how your nation is feeling today?
Yeah, I wish everyone in the world felt the same way. Unfortunately, we are after a year of people tearing down hostage posters and openly protesting for the people who took the Bibas family hostage. Israelis are today feeling a mix of relief and shock and anger. Relief that we're getting live hostages out. We've got 5 out today. But shock and horror at what happened to the Bibas family. We know that Hamas abducted this family on October 7th. We know that the children were brutally murdered. Hamas claimed they were killed in an airstrike. It made that up. The terrorists murdered those 2 little children with their bare hands, and then they mutilated the bodies to try to create a cover story. We know that they released those children in special coffins with a low handle so they would be held at foot level, with mislabels, so they were labeled as each other. And then they sent back a body that was not their mother, but some random unidentified corpse. We knew that Hamas was evil. We didn't know what evil really is.
Can I just ask on a personal level, how do you not walk out of your door every day just seething with anger? When you see stories like this, it has really shaken, I think, the world when you hear what happened to these little babies.
We do wake up every day seething with anger, but also determination. because rage alone doesn't help anyone. We need to get the hostages out. We know there are still 63 hostages trapped in the dungeons of Gaza. Around half of them are probably alive, and there is no time left to get them out. The evidence coming out of captivity is shocking. Hostages being tortured, starved, held in shackles. We know of one hostage abducted from a music festival who still has shrapnel in his eye from over 500 days ago, and he is probably going blind in captivity. So Israelis are furious, but determined to get the hostages out, but also determined that this war has to end with the end of the Hamas terror regime. Hamas is threatening to do October 7th again and again. We understand there is no such thing as a permanent ceasefire with a terror regime that would send the wrong body just to taunt the families after executing children. This war has to end with all the hostages home and Hamas out.
A powerful perspective from Eilon Levy.
I don't really
with us
know what
this
that
morning.
looks like. I've got some more videos for you. But that story, I want to show you the video of the Palestinians. Here's one. Here's a recent video. This is what the Palestinians are encouraging their children to in just a cycle of death. Netanyahu in the back, and he's a monster. I think on that poster was like Benjamin Netanyahu's children, like go after them. So this is like kind of the whole area. I don't really know what they're training their children to do and to be. And they're waving at their, military arm of this. It's kind of hard to put into words. This is from Ahmad Taha. That day, the baby's only crime was being born a Jew, not a Palestinian. Ripped from his crib, stolen from his mother's arms. His tiny heart still beat, still hoped. But there was no mercy, no humanity. The terrorists of Hamas, the mass butchers of the Muslim Brotherhood, did not see a child. They saw a target. His mother, like Israel, held him close, shielding him with her last breath, a mother's instinct, her love, her final act of defiance. They shot her. The bullets tore through her flesh, through love, through life itself. She collapsed, her arms still wrapped around him, as if her embrace could shield him even in death. But the world did not cry for them, and the so-called voices of the From the River to the Sea, the 1635 protest attended by 2.8 million people over 15 months from Toronto to London, from Sydney to Berlin, marched, yet not one among them demanded the baby's freedom. Not one wept for his mother. Instead, they covered for Hamas, masked their crimes, and justified the slaughter. The slogans and excuses: shame will follow you, history will not forget, you looked away, you excused it, you marched for the killers, not for the victims. Now, this was written by a Amjad Tahi, who is an expert in strategic political affairs. And he went on GB News. And he said that there are probably more extremists in the UK than you have in the Middle East. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But if you go to the one to the left of that, I want you to see how they paraded these coffins out. And these are babies. Michelle, I don't really know how to give commentary on the parading of coffins of babies inside. Maybe just have them hear a little bit so you can hear what people were sounding like in these moments. Can you go back to the beginning? What was the... So all these people coming, they've got these masks on. What is happening in these particular people's eyes as these hostages are being released? Like, I don't understand the pomp and the circumstances of it. I don't understand the spectacle of it. I don't understand the parading them on the front of the Like here, this is our spoils of war type thing.
I think that's probably the most accurate
And
you can have.
so inside of that coffin, now from what I understand, a Palestinian family actually took them in, and it wasn't Hamas, it was regular Palestinians. Because these the hostages, and you can stop that now. The hostages have all been put. Many of them have been put in family homes, especially the women, and the children were put in homes with women. So that the women and the children went to homes with women. And I don't understand how we can communicate any sort of peace resolution. I don't understand how this works. They took the mother, shot her point blank in the head. Obviously, there's no military reason for this. She's not a threat. She's not anything. You would think that she would be better alive than dead to you because you took them as hostages to make a negotiation. But the anger, I was thinking about this earlier, the violent animalistic anger to shoot this woman, and then the children were not killed by a bullet. Both of the babies were strangled to death.
So, my commentary on this is going to be a little bit off topic. I guess because it hits close to people that I know and love very much. So, there's an arm of the truth movement. We talk about this a lot.
That's so weird.
That essentially believes that Israel and the Jews are so evil,
JOOS,
that anything that would shed anyone that would be Jewish or on the other side, like whatever, in a good or innocent or victim light.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Is false and propaganda.
Yeah.
And so I can hear these people who are my friends
coming up with some sort of,
in my mind, coming up with we don't know that family was really even killed. We don't know that those children, it's all fake. It's all a false flag. It's all this, it's all that. And I want to caution anyone from following down that line, because what you're then saying is that if something does not agree with your worldview on a subject, you are going to, and this is what they do, by the way, the people that you're accusing right here, you're going to bury your head in the sand and you're going to say, la, 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 then it just must not be true. How is it that we can look at, like, let's say you're against the Jews. Okay, fine. And you would look at them and you could say, well, how can you possibly believe X, Y, Z? And if you were trying to discuss to a Jewish person that you, whatever, right? Trying to convince them, or not even just a Jewish person, but somebody that is siding with the Jews. And you're trying to have this conversation and you're saying, well, you're just, a Christian Jewish apologist. And no matter what the Jews do, you're going to say that they are, they're good and they're God's people and we have to support them. And you're not even looking at the facts and you're not even listening to the truth and all this, and it's become a religious idolatry. These are all the exact same things that you accuse them of. You are guilty of, which is why here at Resistance Chicks, we take an incredibly weighted, even-handed view.
Yeah.
Okay? But here's the very interesting thing I would like to point out for all facts.
Do we have to always be like, yeah, but can we not just, and this is not for you, I'm just talking to the people. Can we not just say that strangling babies is the depth of all evil?
But what I'm hearing from people, like I said, that we know and love, is all I hear is the Jews kill thousands and thousands and thousands of children. They're mutilating children. They're all this stuff that happened to the Bobby's family. I hear from these people that the Jews are doing to children. Here's the problem that I have with that. Okay? We have seen over the past probably month or so that we've been covering the release of these hostages. Every week we come to you and we show you a new release of hostages.
It just keeps getting worse and worse. They're not redeeming
We've done that
themselves.
for literally the past 4 or 5, 6 weeks.
If they were super healthy and coming out normal.
Let me get my thought out here. We've been covering this. We've shown you the pomp and circumstance. We have shown you that these people are obsessed with videos. They are obsessed with their evidence. They're obsessed with their proof. So you're telling me that Israel, I put in air quotes, or even its allies, America or whatever, are so strong that they have been able to suppress 100% of the evidence of all these children like the Bobby's family that are being murdered. And it's, you just know that it's true, but we don't have any video footage of it. We don't have any specific stories. We don't have any names of any families. And you're telling me that Israel and the United States propaganda is able to suppress 100% of that. And yet on the other hand, we see Hamas and we see all of this pomp and circumstance and massive video footage that they take about everything. And yet they don't have any of their own that they're releasing of all of their own people that are being mutilated and torn apart.
Yes, so they have released videos of the bombings and children have been killed.
But where are you standing up against Hiroshima? I feel like I'm the only one that says that was bad.
So, but here's the thing. We would be having a different story here. Okay. When Israel is bombing, they're not targeting children. Okay, it's a horrible thing that's happening in war. We're going to have a different conversation if Hamas's rockets were rocketing in and a child was killed. Or
that's not the same thing.
That's not what's happening right now. This family was taken alive. The anger and the animalistic violence in them with regular people strangled 2 babies. And I don't want to stay on this for too long because I know how disturbing it is.
We'll be done. But like the how many hostages of Palestinians were released?
300.
300. And we saw the video footage of them getting released. They were all healthy. None of them were injured except for one little guy.
Some women wanted to stay behind because it was better for them.
They were fat. They were healthy. They were happy. Their eyes were able to look and be like a normal person. And all of these hostages, these Israeli hostages that are being, or even some Americans that are getting, they are hollow inside. Mm-hmm. They have seen horrors that you have never even imagined. They are a shell of a human being that's being released. So don't tell me it's tit for tat and it's the same, because it's not. Now, I'm not going to sit here and defend Israel because they are corrupt and they are an arm of Satan right now in a lot of areas, and resistance chicks do not wave the Israeli flag and go rah, 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 we stand with Israel no matter what. We used to. We don't do that anymore, okay? I'm telling you, like we always say, both sides need Jesus. Both sides are wrong. But when you see what is coming out of these Hamas torture camps, and the people that are being mutilated, strangled, killed, starved, tortured, you're not seeing that on the other side.
When you say both sides are wrong, I would say you have to put Israel in the same camp of the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia or any of these other countries that, you know, their right to exist is their right to exist. And Israel has a right to exist. Now, should they have AIPAC and should there be all kinds of Israeli influence in America's politics? Absolutely not. America needs to be America first, not any other country first. But I do want to finish. If you could just play a little bit more from this CBN News clip here, starting around 2 minutes.
This is really difficult. Right. What are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts on this are, I mean, it's so horrific. It's hard to even have words, right? Because you've had this trauma, this event that is unimaginable. This entire time, the entire world praying for all the hostages, but in particular these children, right? These young children, and hoping and pining and praying that they were alive, and to find out they're not. Traumatic enough, bringing back everything from October 7th that has been just so difficult to process. And then to hear these details, these alleged details that these babies were killed, these children were killed with these terrorists' bare hands. It is absolutely the most unimaginable evil. And that's the only word that can come to my mind as I think about how any human being could do that to anyone, let alone a child.
I think what this past few days has really brought into absolute clarity is this is not just a military war. This is a PR battle. If you look at this poster that Hamas put up with their last parade, let's call it, it says, quote, "The war criminal Netanyahu and his Nazi army killed them with missiles from Zionist warplanes. They don't care about them at all. This is all PR. They realize just how bad this looks for them, for their audience. What is important."
So wait a minute, Leah. Are they claiming that the babies weren't strangled?
Oh no, they're claiming that the Zionists they had to come up with an excuse to why these particular hostages are being released dead. So they said that they were killed by a Zionist warplane, the autopsy is, and it's undisputed.
Sure.
That they were strangled. They were bodies.
But look at that. But the propaganda there for their people, like I said, they put these people
and
all
they
up.
put
They
it
are
in English
lying
too, because that's for the rest of the world. English
right.
is for the
But
rest of the
what I'm
world.
saying is they're lying to their own people.
Right.
So like, you can ask the question, well, how is it that these people are going along with this? They have a propaganda machine of their own, like I was pointing out.
And who came up with that art? You have to be satanically possessed.
This whole battle is being waged for a public opinion, and the fact that they were strangled, for lack of a better word, these babies with their bare hands, and then mutilated them to look like they were killed in a war. It shows in such graphic clarity what this actually is.
And the bodies were actually mutilated to make it look like they had been harmed by a warplane.
This is a facade to build up emotional support. And you think Hamas cares about the Bibas family? And so I think today, it took a lot of courage for their father to say, you know what? Thank you for this autopsy. I want the world to know. So please share with the world what actually happened to my two little babies. So I think today is just a day for mourning and sadness, but also resolve to not close our eyes to the, keep using this word, PR battle that is this conflict, and to look at everything with not just your physical eyes, if I may, but also spiritual eyes, to discern the heart of what's actually happening here. Does that make sense, Billy?
No, it makes absolute sense, because what we're talking about here, the underpinning of everything you just described, is that this is spiritual in nature. I mean, this is so beyond anything. It is such a heinous evil, right? To be able to do any of this. If we are not understanding the context of what is happening and what is driving it, we're not able to understand what's really going on here. And this is far more than a geographic dispute, a religious dispute, some sort of, this is obviously a historical dispute, but it's also a spiritual one. And you are very literally looking at the battle between good and evil, and you are watching it play out. And the fact that we even have to talk about this it's so traumatic for everyone, but we have to, so that people understand what true evil actually looks like, the face of it. And it is exactly in this story.
As I've talked about with you, Billy, I've been to Israel many times, but terrorist attacks and the intifadas and the stabbings and the rocket attacks but for some reason, not for some reason, very clear reason, the Bibas family, the news of the Bibas family has rocked and shaken and disturbed and broken and shattered my Israeli friends like nothing I've ever seen. I've talked to them when more people have died, when bigger attacks happen, but this, I've seen grown men weep. I've seen tough guys speechless. This really has become the most heartbreaking thing I think I've had to watch when it comes to my Israeli friends.
It's innocence, right? I mean, children are off limits. They should be off limits, right? You have this level of the horror of itself, of October 7th and everything that happened. And that's just one event in the ongoing abuse and horrific treatment of the Jewish people, but really a traumatic event. And then you have children. I mean, a baby, even more than children, this little baby. And you just think, I mean, there has to be absolutely no inkling of any moral compass left in any human being to do anything like this. And I think that's what makes it so traumatic, is that an innocent child would be treated in that way. Go ahead.
No, and I think the huge distinction is, and this is a distinction that people don't like to talk about. There is a massive difference between civilians killed in the crossfire and intentionally, systematically taking babies out of their crib to be used as hostages, and then to use your bare hands to murder those kids, and then to use those kids' bodies and mutilate them more to look like it was an Israeli warplane that actually did. We have to have moral clarity here. That is such a larger difference than terrorists or whoever might be hiding in a building, and that building gets hit, and obviously we mourn the loss of all life, and especially young people. But
that was my point as well. It's not the same. It's a death cult, there's something that has to be said about it. And going over here to my I have this link. This is Amjad Taya going to he's a Muslim, and he's saying that the UK and the allowing of the mindset and the extremism is, the UK opening up their doors to this extremist mentality is dangerous, and that the rest of the Middle East doesn't actually have all of this the extremist hatred.
And you've been talking about Britain's extremism problem. You're somebody who speaks out against anti-Semitism. You speak out in favour of moderate Islam as opposed to extremist Islam. What's your analysis of the state of affairs in Britain? Because we've got the Labour government right now considering defining Islamophobia in a way that some say might open the back door to blasphemy laws.
I think you have more. Well, thank you for having me. And I think you have more extremists in UK than you have in the Middle East.
Really?
At this stage, absolutely. The things that some of the Islamists say in various mosques, and we have been seeing that online, the terminology they use, the analysis they make, the statements they actually make, they would not be able to say it all the way in Afghanistan, for example, or in Iraq.
So how has this been allowed to flourish in the UK? What's your analysis of
in the name of democracy? So the Muslim Brotherhood, who are the Islamists, who are the main ones, are ruling and controlling in various press when it comes to the Muslim society and community in the UK. They control the whole narrative, and the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamists are the radical Islamists. They're the Islamists, and they use the freedom of speech in a manner where they will be anti-Semite in the name of freedom of speech. I absolutely stand against that, because I think anti-Semitism is not an opinion, it's a crime, and a crime against humanity. And once you allow that, on the 7th of October, for example, when it happened, the genocide against the Israelis, what I saw and what we witnessed is the fact that some Islamists all the way from here, in Small Heath, in Al Amrak, in Birmingham, and other areas, we saw their voices. It was pro-Hamas.
Yes.
And Hamas, as a force which carried that genocide in Gaza and also in Israel, it's actually the armed forces of the Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood in my country, for example, UAE, where Muslim, where Arab, is banned, but however, it's not banned in the United Kingdom.
So it should be banned?
Absolutely, because they use the freedom of speech to censor your right to speak against them. And when they say, if they use the terminology Islamophobia, it's just to stop you from criticizing the Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhoods or all form of radicalism. The fact that Islamic Relief, for instance, is registered as a charity here, but all the way in Saudi Arabia, in UAE and other countries is banned because of the investigation that showed that this charity is sending money all the way to some terrorist groups in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
No, I just find that really fascinating that in the UK, it reminds me of like here in the United States, we allow glyphosate, we allow all these poisons in our food, and yet in all of these other European nations, they don't. And it's like, wait, do Americans just hate themselves? Whatever. He's essentially saying the exact same thing as far as these specific groups that are allowed to flourish in the UK in nations that are a lot of times Muslim, don't even allow some of these groups.
Yeah, here's another one. That Trump is shaking things up, and in other Middle Eastern countries, the Muslim Brotherhood is not allowed to operate, except for they are in the U.S. and the UK in the name of tolerance.
If you want to understand Trump's plan for the Middle East, you have to look at it as a real estate plan. You have to understand that he's an expert in that field, and he understands that what needs to happen is a lot of reconstruction development, and there will be a resolution, and there will be a plan to redevelop the region. I don't think he's said at any point that he will remove them permanently, but just to create an opportunity for people to come in and redevelop the area.
I don't think also anybody of us is against the fact that creating a better condition for the Gazan people. We all stand with the right of people. The freedom of movement, the freedom of speech should be always everywhere available, including the Gazan people. If the Gazan people want to stay, they have all the freedom to stay. And if they want to travel outside for a period of time, they can do so. That was the case for the Syrian. That was the case for the Lebanese. Lebanese people, when they had to travel and then come back when their country was built. The same case for the Syrian. 8 million Syrians, they left the country because there was a genocide happening there.
Yes.
So leaving can be for a reason, and then coming back, it's also coming back to rebuild.
Interesting. So, yeah, just here's the thing with the UK. I want to stay here in the UK. The free speech is allowing extremisms and extremists who want to harm and kill and destroy the British way of life. But there is no freedom of speech if you want to say a prayer in front of an
abortion clinic.
It's not even, they don't have abortion clinics. I want to be clear. Their abortion and birthing clinics are the same place.
Okay.
So Here we have the Scottish police are filmed applying a buffer zone law to silent vigil despite recent denials from the Scottish government.
Examples of what would be classed as breaching the Act. You know, approaching someone, trying to persuade them not to access abortion services, surrounding people as they go in or out of the clinic or the hospital, handing out leaflets, religious preaching, silent vigils. So standing here saying nothing, you know, it's a silent vigil, so it can.
I'm just pointing out that coercion is against the law, and that if anyone wants to come and speak to me, they can. So I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, well, you seem to believe you're not doing anything wrong, but there's obviously a reason why you're here and why you're in this area. You in particular, I am aware that you have been protesting here against abortion before, so I don't understand why you're here in this area again if you're not protesting the same thing.
I'm here to say that if anyone wants to come and speak with me at their own volition, they can.
Yeah.
We're going to advise you to move away from this area just now. You're supposed to hospital advise you to move out.
And am I committing an offence if I don't move away from the area?
Yes, I believe you're committing this is a silent vigil, so I believe you would be. Yes.
So, well, I'm here to speak to anyone if they want to speak with me. That's what I'm doing, standing here saying that coercion is a crime, and if anyone wants to come and speak with me, they can. So, is that an offence?
Well, we've asked you to move.
Wow.
So he said, you've been here before protesting against abortion. And she says, I'm here I'm here to tell anybody who wants to speak with me that abortion is a crime. But it was a silent visual. I don't know what her sign said, but they weren't pointing to the sign. They weren't saying that I think her sign was said, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me, because from what they're saying is that we think you're here protesting abortion. They don't know that.
Right.
So because you've done it before, like if she were just standing there saying, if you want to buy a cell phone from me, you could, right? If you want to buy a flower from me, you could.
Right.
But because she's a known pro-lifer, she can't stand there. That sounds like a bit of discrimination. They're like,
Well,
they're
here's the
leading
thing.
her into like,
I want to point
what's
something
in
out.
your head, lady?
I want to point something out for anybody that ever finds themselves in that type of a situation. You need to.
Okay, here, I saw the sign. It's coercion is a crime.
Oh, coercion is a crime. Okay. You need to be able to learn body language. Now, I'm not saying that I would be able to identify this if I was the one being accused or whatever, because it's difficult to think when you're in that situation. But a bird's eye view, you can see the body language and the verbiage of those police officers. They didn't have a leg to stand on. They didn't actually have anything that they could arrest her with.
They did arrest her in this one.
In the same exact video?
There's more to the video.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she must have said something, because at that point when you look at their body language, they're kind of like, I don't really know if I have the legal right to do something with you yet,
Yeah,
lady.
I think we can see a wider clip on this. It says coercion is a crime. And you need to tell me
and
that
why is it always that they, like, it's not some young person, you know? It's unbelievable.
So here we can see her sign.
This is Rose Doherty standing outside the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow this afternoon.
Just a hospital.
Let's see what happens next.
Oh, this might have been the first time.
So you are aware of the legislation?
This is a different police officers.
Area for protests? So you're within this restricted area? You're aware of that? Right. Rose, at this moment in time, the time is 1,500 hours. I'm going to charge you. I'm going to charge you, but before I do so, I caution you, you're not obliged to say anything. Anything you do say will be noted down and may be used in evidence. The offence is, now in this day and date, you did involve yourself in a protest.
Wait a minute.
Within a
From your
restricted,
phone, you're reading it?
within a restricted zone that's likely to cause distress or harm to others. Contrary to Section 4 of the Abortion Services, I will ask you to leave this area now. If you refuse to do so, you will be arrested for refusing to desist and you will be put into a station. So I'm going to kindly ask you to move on from here. Now up to yourself where you want to do it, please. That's fine. I'm going to speak with my gaffer. You have been charged with the offence. I'm asking you nicely. You will be reported for the offence. FDB will not take that decision. Okay?
So sorry, you're refusing to move?
Refusing to move,
Okay.
so we'll let me come back to the station.
Need to arrest you, okay?
Okay.
Can you put your sign down for me? Thank you. You can take it with us, but I need to hurt you.
I'm not going to put cuffs on you. That's all. Right, we'll just put it on the front, okay? Just so it's... Can you step it? Please step back.
I can understand you're embarrassed.
No, I've got absolutely no issues with you filming, but please take a step back.
Just take a step back from us, that's all. Perfect. See your colleague standing. Quite happy standing there. Okay, thank you.
You voted for this persecution of your fellow Christians, but it's never too late. I mean, you could apologise, you could say that you wish you'd never done that, and I think that would be a really positive step if you were able to do that. Now, some people at the moment seem to think the Reform Party is the answer to all our problems. Where's the Reform Party? Buffer zones on pro-life issues in general? Well, the answer generally is nowhere to be seen. So, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President J.D. Vance, you were talking about this law a few days ago, and here it is manifest in action.
Wow.
Wow.
This is the law where you can't stand in front of a hospital, by the way, where somebody could possibly get an abortion. These are not abortion clinics. They don't have abortion clinics. They're the abortions and the births are all done in the same hospital, in the same clinics. So you can't just pick and choose. And they don't know what's in her head. What if she wanted to protest something that you might agree with?
Her sign literally said, "Here to talk only if you want."
Right. But because they knew what was in her head.
Right.
I don't really have, the UK has fallen.
And you know what?
You have
like, I am
fallen.
so proud of this lady. Like, I don't even have words.
Yeah.
None of us are doing those types of things. And everybody out there that is, giving.
You want to tell me free speech when at any given moment there is a imam somewhere in the UK calling for the death of people.
Right. And all she's doing is this little old lady standing outside of a hospital.
Life for people.
Brave woman.
All right. Speaking of the UK, you do tend to really hate Andrew Tate, which, okay, that's a good thing. This came out this week that Donald Trump has he didn't know this, by the way. I don't think he even knew that he sent Richard Grenell over to
homosexual
the UK or over to the Romania, to
influence them to let Andrew Tate out of house arrest and to have him then sent to the United States. So the Trump administration using a strong arm against the Romanian government to drop the charges essentially against Andrew Tate, and if not drop them, at least release him from their custody so that he can then flee to the United States, which I was wrong as of last Friday. Leah corrected me on air. I didn't think that he was, I thought he was just a UK citizen. I didn't know that he was a part US citizen. I don't know the backstory and the history on that. But this is one of the most grossest breach of decorum. I don't even know what the right word is. You do not, as one of the free leaders of the world, try to influence another nation and their criminal justice process against someone that is accused of rape.
Yeah. So
this isn't like a Julian Assange where you're talking about journalistic integrity or something that's not, murder, rape, pedophilia.
Yeah.
Okay? If it's some sort of like non-violent crime, maybe there's a little bit of room for leeway here, but that ain't what we're talking about. So you send your little boy, your little homo, Richard Grenell, over to Romania. You're saying that Trump didn't know that Trump knows what's going on. I'm sure he gave permission for this.
Alexandru Dimitriou is a lawyer and a USR deputy, discussed this particular incident with this Financial Times. He stressed that it is scandalous for a foreign power, in this case the United States, to intervene in the situation of individuals accused of rape. It is scandalous that a foreign power wants to intervene, the USR deputy also commented on the fact that the USR summoned the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Emil Horoszanu, to Parliament to give explanations in this case. Yes, unfortunately, the government sees Parliament like this, just as a box, where it doesn't have to come to give explanations, although Parliament is the one who invests in the government. What is happening is scandalous, and I tell you honestly that I don't see it as a diplomatic scandal. On the other hand, it is scandalous, and there are two options here. Either Mr. Horoszanu has no business in this position anymore, because you can't come up with something like that if it's not true. And if it is true, it is scandalous that a foreign power, to use a more recently known term, wants to intervene and play close attention. Are the Americans worried about the fate of individuals who committed rape in Romania? Seriously, I could understand if it was, say, a diplomat who made a mistake, who had an accident, although I can't understand that either. I don't agree at all with what had happened in the past, but still, here we are talking about ordinary mafia people. It's unqualified. Isn't America the country that is the beacon of democracy? And then there's actually a signatures out. They're trying to get signatures. We demand the resignation of the MFA spokesperson for disinformation. We cannot tolerate lies at the official level. We demand the resignation of the spokesperson, Andre Tarina, and a clear position of the MFA in defense of the independence of the Romanian judiciary. On February 17th, Andre Tarina, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sent false information about an official meeting. He denied that the Tate brothers case had been discussed between Minister Emil Horoszanu and the U.S. Special Envoy Richard Grenell. Just a few hours later, the minister publicly confirmed the opposite. The meeting took place and the subject of the Tate brothers was raised. It is unacceptable for a key institution to misinform the press and citizens. The lack of honesty destroys public trust and seriously affects Romania's credibility internationally. The official lie. BBC journalist Marcia Barbu requested clarification about the meeting. The response received from the MFA was, a case in court was not discussed. However, a few hours later, Minister Horoszanu stated that Richard Grenell had explicitly raised the subject of the Tate brothers. External pressures. The confirmed meeting suggests possible external interference into the judicial process in Romania. The Romanian state must defend the independence of the judiciary, not remain silent in the face of pressure. And after the Financial Times revelations, the authorities remained silent. So why is the Romanian state silent on this pressure? This is the only thing that could derail this case. And I'm going to play this clip because after this case, the Tate brothers actually will be extradited back to the UK to
they still have to face charges in the UK.
Yeah.
Has Donald Trump's White House been pressuring the Romanian government to give Andrew Tate his passport back? In the last hour or so, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has responded to the Romanian Foreign Minister's confirmation that President Trump's envoy did raise the Tate's case with him last week, although denied the conversation amounted to pressure from the Americans. Mr. Jenrick said on X, the Tate brothers stand accused of rape and trafficking in the UK and must face our justice system. No obstacles, he said, should be placed in the way of the UK authorities. And he called on the UK government to make that clear to the White House. Andrew Tate's facing allegations of trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, and money laundering alongside his brother. Both have denied the charges. They also deny allegations of rape and human trafficking that have been made against them here in the UK, where police are seeking to extradite them. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Jury. First of all, what do you make of what appears to be going on in terms of pressure on the Romanians, and what do you make of the Shadow Justice Secretary's intervention tonight?
Well, firstly, I don't think it's what appears to be going on. I think it's clearly what is going on. The Romanian Prime Minister has said that the Americans have not demanded or requested anything, but we know that simply raising the issue means something. It's very clear from members of the Trump administration's social media posts and public statements that there is a great deal of support for Tate. And I'm not clear as to why that is. Either they don't know or they don't care about the nature of the allegations and how serious they are. We've just heard my client, who was speaking to you some time ago, describe what happened to her. But these are the most serious allegations of human trafficking, rape, serial rape, the trafficking of minors, and the rape of a 15-year-old girl. It doesn't get more serious than that. And to see the Trump administration lobbying for this man's release, interfering in due process in Romania, but worse, as far as we consider sitting here, interfering in due process here in the UK. Tate is scheduled to be extradited from Romania once the proceedings there are concluded. If Tate is given his passport back, it's quite clear that there is a flight risk. Otherwise, he would not be under judicial control measures in Romania and under house arrest in the first place. So in respect of what the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has said, I'm fully in support. And I'm not sure it's really worth criticising the Trump administration in as much as they're going to do what they're going to do. They're very clear what their approach is, which is to coerce other countries to bend to their wishes. My question is, what is our government going to do? Are they going to step up and speak out in respect of what is a gross interference in my client's rights to a fair trial and due process?
You said you have no idea why the Trump administration is putting this pressure on regarding the Tates. What could that be about? And you talked about a flight risk. Do you mean if they get their passports back, they might fly to the United States, and then it would be, I don't know what position the UK would be in then in terms of trying to continue to extradite them from the States?
Honestly, before this, I thought they'd be going east to Russia, quite frankly. But given the new administration, the new US administration's support and apparent sympathy for them, which comes from I don't know where, I imagine if they have their passports, then they're probably the most optimal destination for them would be the US.
In terms of the women you are representing, what have they said to you about what's going on?
Well, they're absolutely distraught. If you can imagine that these are women who are the victims of the most horrible and horrific alleged crimes, and to see the most powerful man in the world support their alleged abuser is incredibly traumatising. It's re-traumatising for them. It's gaslighting of a sort. And they're just absolutely bewildered as to why the Trump administration has decided to interfere in this way.
And it is incumbent on me to say the Tate brothers deny the allegations against them. You said you want to see the UK government step up. What do you, in practical terms, want them to do? What should they be saying?
I think the message needs to be very clearly communicated that both the criminal proceedings in Romania, but more importantly, the criminal proceedings here in the UK, should be allowed to take place and run their course in the ordinary fashion without interference. This is not politics. This is about due process and fair trial.
It's exactly right. It's not. This is not political. You don't get to politicize a criminal investigation. Like, unless you're talking about what they did to Donald Trump, which it started out political. What the Tate brothers are alleging is that it's been political against them the entire time, but they were accused of these things before they started speaking out. It wasn't that they started speaking out about certain issues that makes Mega go, ooh, we love Tate. And then all of a sudden the deep state comes after them. That's not what we're looking at. You were a criminal before this.
Yeah, yeah. There is a victim actually in the United States. She fled from Romania. And the Tate brothers, just play a little bit of this, have been harassing her ever since. This is
not just the Tate brothers, but you have to keep in mind that it's never just the Tate brothers. It's the entire Tate team of religious followers that they have around the world.
Yeah, I think this is her attorney.
Senior Vice President and Director of the Law and Center at the National Center of Sexual Exploitation. So she's not the victim, but she's a lawyer.
Sure,
you see the Tate brothers completely dominating this narrative and just pushing out utter lies.
The old webcam studio and the current investigation have zero strings in between them. I am accused of helping my friends get big on TikTok.
From the evidence against them.
There's not a single bank transfer. There's not a single piece of evidence for any money.
To even what they're charged with.
You're not actually accused of rape.
Correct.
So I can't even understand what that's like for Jane Doe. Watch these prominent figures like Tucker Carlson.
No, man. This is like...
And then Candace Owens.
Andrew Tate.
And for this narrative to be driven that's just completely false.
Yeah, it's terrifying and it's distressing and it's so unjust. And, you know, the truth is, they've scared her, right? They've sued her. They started harassing her. They've threatened her. They've sued her. And she's been quiet. And they have shaped the narrative. So she's been quiet. She's tried to do the right thing, right? She doesn't want to disrupt the Romanian prosecution or be accused of disrupting it. But now they have filled the vacuum, right? They have spun the narrative, and it's distressing. So not only has she been quiet to be respectful because she didn't want to make this about herself, but she's being accused of scamming them for fame while they suck all the air out of the room. So, I mean, she has a First Amendment right to speak about this. And, you know, if she has the courage to do that, I will stand by her to do that. Because at this point, she has tried to do everything right. You know, we tried to just dismiss this case. She could have countersued the day they filed it. But we didn't want to be disruptive of this Romanian criminal case. We wanted to dismiss the case, move on with her life, try to just do the right thing. And they were relentless, and they sued her again and sued her again. So I'm so honored to represent her. I'm so impressed by her courage that she's willing to not give up and stand up to them. But, finally, this countersuit is her opportunity to tell her side of the story, to speak her truth finally into this situation, even against the most unbelievable opposition and attempts to silence her. I mean, they've done everything they possibly could to silence her.
It's coming up to 3 years in April since the Tates were raided, and she, gave her side of the story to the Romanian authorities. So how much of her life has been impacted over the past 3 years?
Okay, you can stop that. That's just that. It's just insane. All right, let's go to this next one here. CBS joined German police to conduct a raid on a citizen for posting a meme online.
Oh dear, we keep seeing this time and time again. What is going on? A raid for a meme. This is, I'm telling you, we're saying, okay, Trump's in office, it's not coming to America, but I wouldn't be so sure.
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany. Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online. At the exact same time, across Germany, more than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
This is where I always go back to, I am a thinking person. Pornography, I believe, should be illegal. You may fight me on that. You may disagree with me on that. A lot of libertarians would go apoplectic at the idea that I say that something like pornography should be illegal because it literally harms society and it harms people. That is not the same thing as your freedom of speech to say what you want to say, to live how you want to live. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not the same thing. And unfortunately, because of the internet, and I do sometimes feel very old because I remember a world without the internet, and I'm trying to imagine pre-internet. If someone had like maybe put on their front door, that's the only thing I can think of, right? Mm-hmm. Or worn a t-shirt, okay, that was offensive in whatever manner you want to say is offensive. I would not, like, it would seem Gestapo-like, mm-hmm. My whole life and it seems like I've actually seen way less in today's day and age than I grew up seeing, but especially when we would go to amusement parks, I would see t-shirts that would be so offensive mm-hmm. to me. And I'm thinking, like, most of the time they're pornographic, but even if they're words, I'm not necessarily sure that anyone would agree with having to outlaw, those types of t-shirts. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to like put it into a box of how would this apply pre-internet, where you would think this is Soviet stuff. Mm-hmm. If it was happening pre-internet, but because of the internet, you're like, well, I guess it's okay to arrest people for posting things online.
So it looks like the AfD today did well, but not as well as they had hoped. It looks like they took some votes from the SPD, the Socialist Democrat Party, but it looks like the Conservative Party, which isn't really conservative, by the way, that's Angela Merkel's party, has won, and they will be forming a coalition, not a giant coalition, probably with everybody else on the left. But it's a better result. It looks like the AfD came in at 19.5%, which is a plus 9% increase. The German election exit polls are in, and the result is on the light side for the AfD, which were polling around 21%, but appeared to have ended up with about 19.5% of the vote. The German conservatives get 29%, and the ZFD here, the AFD just fractionally better at 20%. Could be. The emerging picture is one where the initial exit polls are in line with the most recent polling, showing a CDU victory, with the SPD and Greens collapsing, while the AFD doubles its support from 10% in 2021 and is set to become the main opposition power in the new government of note. And to get an indication of how unpopular legacy politics in Germany has become, the SDP, the Social Democrat Party of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, posted its worst result since World War II. A bitter election result for the SPD. In other words, Germany's opposition conservatives won the national election on Sunday, putting leader Friedrich Merz on track to be the next chancellor. While the populist Alternative for Germany came in second, its best result ever. Naturally, the SPD was not happy. That said, with 29% of votes in the exit polls, the CDU falls short of parliamentary majority needed to govern. However, it will likely be able to form a two-party governing coalition with the SPD. Meanwhile, since the AFD, which has been shunned by every other party and will not participate in any strategic alliances with anyone, did not enjoy a last-minute burst in support and came in at or just below what the polls had said.
Leah, would you, just for the sake of, sometimes we act as if our world news program is a soap opera, meaning people have seen last week's and the weeks before.
So the AFD,
Who's
the Alternative
AFD?
for Germany,
Please tell them again.
have been called Nazis. They're the mega party of Germany, and they're the ones who would try to bring in free speech, stop immigration. Mostly, it's about immigration. They've had the support of even Elon Musk, tweeting them out saying that if AFD did not win, then Germany will fall. So, looks like Germany will just remain the same as it will. It'll. I think it's going to switch from the Social Democrats back to the CDU. But anyways, it's not good news, but it's not horrible news for Germany. They made some. They made some strides, just not as much as they wanted to towards free speech in Germany. So that's the update there. All right, so melee is in a melee of problems. We talked about this a little bit on a walk that we did, but Javier Milei is under some scrutiny. He is likely to survive this, even though it screams of fraud. He tweeted out a meme coin. It says, Javier Milei just destroyed the meme coin market. This was from last week. This was actually from Saturday of last week, and I didn't know it on our Sunday show, and so we're doing this now, but it's still ongoing. This is one of the biggest crashes in cryptocurrency history. Milei launched a meme coin, money sign Libra, for the growth of their economy. Within hours, over 4.4 billion of market cap was erased, and they call it a rug pull. And it looks like Libra hit 4.5 billion. The insiders cashed out 87.4 million, and then the actual then there's no money left to get back out of it. It's just absolutely insane. So we're gonna kind of talk about this. I think it was Viva Frey says. So Milei, you can play this video while I talk about it. So Milei went to CPAC. He gave Elon Musk a
fake golden chainsaw,
and so he's not.
How you doing? Good, how's it going? Hey.
For you.
Thanks.
Wish the music wasn't in the background. I'm gonna have to mute it for some. So for the podcast listeners, I think it's golden. I don't know. Maybe it's just steel. It's super shiny. I don't think that it actually runs. And it says something on the blade. Lee, I don't know if you can look up what it says on there. It's super fancy. But the idea was that he's cutting through all of the pork spending. It says Viva la something or other. Long live. That's
Living
all I got.
Liberty. But
yeah, Liberty,
Viva
maybe.
Frey says Milei doesn't get to laugh himself out of the predicament he walked himself into. What he did with Libra coin is either serious fraud or serious bad judgment, neither of which can be forgiven and forgotten with a humorous chainsaw video. It's actually a big problem. he was either in on the fraud or he allowed himself to be used as a tool to discredit cryptocurrency and his own presidency. So I'm going to try to bring up a few of these issues that this raises. Let's see if I can find them here. So if you could do maybe this video, Milei's meme coin scandal explained. It's going to be one of these ones over here. Got it. Okay.
This video is brought to you by Ground News.
Okay.
Since coming to power in late 2023, Argentina's President Javier Milei has consistently enjoyed approval ratings above 50%, making him one of the most popular politicians in the world and providing him with the political capital to push through sweeping economic reforms, despite minimal representation in Congress. However, Milei's popularity has been jeopardized this weekend after he promoted a cryptocurrency called Libra on X, which triggered a dramatic rise in its value and then a total collapse when a handful of insiders cashed out, leaving Milei's supporters empty-handed. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what just happened, Milei's role in it, and what might happen next. The bell. So let's just get straight into it. This story really begins late on Friday evening, when Argentina's President Javier Milei took to X to promote a recently created cryptocurrency called Libra, which he said would raise money to help small companies in Argentina. There was then some panic about whether or not Milei had been hacked. After all, presidents don't usually spend their time promoting meme coins, and there were various signs that the coin was a risky investment. The project had shared no preliminary information about how the cryptocurrency was actually going to work, and not long after Milei's endorsement, commentators pointed out that something like 80% of all Libra coins were held by just a handful of insiders, who could sell their tokens at any point. There was even a community note underneath Milei's post, warning users to, quote, verify before interacting with the project, because it looked suspiciously like what's known in the crypto community as a rug pull, where scammers pump up a cryptocurrency, often via some celebrity endorsement, before suddenly selling all their coins, cashing out and crashing the coin. Nonetheless, the post stayed up for 5 hours or so, and Milei apparently confirmed his support for the token to Bloomberg Linea, so people piled in. In just a couple of hours, some 44,000 of Milei's supporters, and anyone else hoping to capitalise on Milei's endorsement, invested millions of dollars in the coin, and its value skyrocketed. At its peak, the market capitalisation, that is, the total value of all coins in circulation, reached $4.5 billion, up from less than $200 million before Milei's endorsement.
Oh dear.
Just 3 hours after it started trading, however, those insiders we mentioned earlier suddenly sold all their coins, with just 8 insiders together raking in about $107 million, according to Cointelegraph. This obviously wiped out the token's value, which fell by 94%, leaving the vast majority of the 44,000 who invested after Milei's post with massive losses. A couple of hours into the crash, Milei deleted his post endorsing the coin and created a new post acknowledging his support of the coin, but insisted that he obviously had no connection to it whatsoever, and that he wasn't aware of the details of the project beforehand. True to form, Milei finished off his post by blaming the, quote, filthy rats of the political caste who want to take advantage of this situation to do harm. Unfortunately for Milei, this wasn't enough to quiet the subsequent uproar. For starters, even if Milei is telling the truth here, and he genuinely didn't know about the coin, it's not a great look that he, as both a seasoned economist and the president of Argentina, publicly endorsed what looks like, at best, a risky asset, at worst, a scam, without understanding what it was, and only withdrew his support after the coin had crashed. But on top of that, there are a couple of reasons that Milei's excuse, that he didn't really understand the coin, doesn't quite add up. For starters, Milei seemed relatively well acquainted with both the company that sponsored the coin, KIP Protocol, and the company that actually carried out the launch, a relatively unknown company called Kelsia Ventures. Milei met with KIP Protocol representatives in October, where the company informed him about the Libra, and KIP then joined Buenos Aires City Government Blockchain Committee in January. Similarly, the guy who runs Kelsia Ventures, an American called Hayden Davis, who also seems to have made a lot of money off the coin, claims to be an advisor of Milei's, and apparently met with him in late January to discuss the project. In a statement, Davis actually blamed the crash on Milei for suddenly withdrawing his support, although we should say that the rug pull happened a couple of hours before Milei deleted his tweet, so this is somewhat implausible. Davis then just gave an interview with another YouTuber, Voidzilla, where he attempted to justify the rug pull, but this hasn't been very well received, and in that interview he seemed to essentially admit that it was both a scam and illegal. Nonetheless, this isn't the first time Milei's been caught up in a crypto scandal. Back in 2021, when he was a national deputy, Milei promoted a platform called CoinX, which offered implausibly high profits of 8% a month as a way for Argentinians to protect their savings against inflation. Unsurprisingly, this turned out to be a pyramid scheme, and CoinX is currently being investigated for fraud. So, what happens next? Well, on Sunday, Millei's office announced the creation of a new investigation task unit to investigate what happened with Libra and whether anything illegal occurred. But this wasn't enough to quell the uproar either, because, well, it's basically the president investigating himself.
Right.
On top of that, a lawsuit has already been issued against Milei by a couple of people, including economist Claudio Lozano, who actually used to be the head of Argentina's central bank, claiming that Milei violated Argentina's public ethics law. Specifically, it looks like Milei might have broken Article 265, which banned public officials from using their position for financial benefit, with a maximum sentence of 6 years. Although we should say that it doesn't look like Milei himself actually made money from the rug pull. Opposition lawmakers have even said that they'll try to impeach Milei, although this would require the support of 2/3 of deputies in Congress. But even if Milei isn't impeached, it's still bad news for him. For starters, if they can't get a 2/3 majority, other opposition members have instead suggested scrapping Decree 70, which gives Milei sweeping discretionary powers and would only require a normal 50% majority in Congress. But on top of that, this will almost definitely put a dent in Millei's approval ratings, and mean he'll probably win fewer seats at the upcoming midterm elections in October than he would have otherwise. This would be pretty frustrating for Milei. Millei's La Libertad Avanza party currently enjoys pretty minimal representation in Congress, and he would have been hoping that his sky-high personal approval ratings would translate to a strong performance at the midterms, which would have given him more seats in Congress and therefore...
So you can pause that. We'll dive into this a little bit more. Supposedly his sister got something out of this. I'm going to play the next one.
Well, my thoughts on this initially are that Milei already looks a little
sketchy.
Not just sketchy. I don't think, I love him. I think he's genuine. I think he has a good heart, and I don't think that I don't get the impression that he would want to commit fraud and to cheat people or anything like that. What I mean is, I think he looks silly sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that unfortunately, as a world leader, even the Elon Musks and the Trump who love him,
knowing he's not,
they kind of like laugh at him.
Smart as he's not a genius of all
exactly. And so it makes me sad because it makes him look dumb. And I don't want Milei to look dumb. I don't think that he meant to do this at all. I think he's just trying to cover for a giant mistake that he made. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. But I just think it just makes him... What is this?
Scroll up. I don't know. This is not the video. It's supposed to be inside.
I don't have it. It doesn't go back. This is what I have. This is the... Leah, I don't have... What was this supposed to be? Is this going to be in your history?
It's supposed to... it's... Milei's sister got paid.
Okay, hang
supposedly.
on. Let me go into the history here. Is this it? Yeah. Right there it is. Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. We got hacked with animal videos.
It's just the next one that played.
I know.
This scandal with Argentina's president.
Oops. Stop. I hate
this scandal with Argentina's president, Javier Milei, just keeps getting worse. The 28-year-old at the heart of the controversy who launched the crypto token that absolutely nuked 95% in just a couple hours is now said to have said in texts back in December that he absolutely controlled the president of Argentina by sending money to his sister. Now, I reached out to the Argentine president and we haven't heard anything back, but it does look like this goes deeper than maybe people originally thought. In fact, just yesterday, President Milei came out and refuted that he endorsed this token for any reason other than he's a techno-optimist.
Yo soy un tecno-optimista fanático.
But if this is true, that doesn't entirely seem to be the case. What do you think? Leave a comment and go watch.
It was unclear. It says that this article from CoinDesk says Libra token's co-creator claimed he paid Argentinian President Milei's sister. It was unclear if any of the money was exchanged between Davis and Milei's inner circle in advance of Libra's launch. What we do know, Libra co-creator Hayden Davis bragged in text messages that he bought influence over Argentinian President Milei. Davis said in December that he could send money to Milei's powerful sister, and he does what I want. The claim adds a new dimension to the anti-corruption investigation. A key player behind the Libra token bragged about buying access to Milei in text messages. He says, and you can scroll down, you can see these.
But just because he says it doesn't make it true, though.
Well, he's the co-creator of the coin, and he obviously convinced Milei to promote it. I control that blankety blank N-word, Davis claimed in text messages from mid-December, adding, I send money to his sister and he signs whatever I say and does what I want. Craziest blank.
So whoever he
sweet.
was...
Also, can we also have Melee tweet and meet in person and do promo? I control that blank. That's blanking sick. CoinDesk obtained the text messages from a source close to the situation who was asked not to be identified. Michael Podovano, a spokesperson for Davis, told CoinDesk that Davis does not recall sending such messages and has no record of this on his phone. The statement continued as follows. Recent media reports claiming I paid Melee or his sister to launch the Libra meme coin are completely false. I never made any payments to them. The statement added, this is nothing more than a politically motivated attack against Melee. Corina Melee, a key figure in her brother's government, currently holds the post of General Secretary of the President of the Argentine nation. So the biggest winner from the Solana-based meme coins launch was Davis and Kelser Ventures. Wallets controlled by the entities netted over 100 million in Libra's early hours. So this is being known as Crypto Gate here, and is it's a pretty big deal. Even if you know, for the president of a country to tweet out the Buenos Aires Times is calling this Javier Milei's Black Swan moment. It's obviously just scandalous all the way around. The idea of putting forth a token is and then having it pump and dump is what it's called. Is pretty evil. Davis is a bizarre character. Let me see. I'm going to back this up. This Davis guy. It says not only the scandal hits at the heart of the Iron Triangle, with sister Corina Melee, the president's chief of staff, being directly accused of receiving improper payments, and a political advisor. The scandal has cost the government dearly, particularly as the cast of a sub-crypto world characters that put together the scam generates serious questions about the administration's lack of judgment. At the center of the group is United States national name Hayden Mark Davis, who came out of nowhere to structure a neutron bomb that has destabilized even the apparently untouchable Melee. Davis is a bizarre character that somehow resembles a digital version of a Bond villain, apparently unmoved by the level of destruction he leaves in his path. He has admitted to involvement in several seemingly fraudulent token coins, including Libra and even the official Melania token, sponsored by, he's going to everybody. The Melania, sponsored by Melania Trump, and is connected with suspicious operations regarding Trump's own coin. He's proven courageous, but fleecing hundreds of thousands of crypto investors while using the First Lady of the United States and the President of Argentina. But he's now fallen from grace, forced into hiding with threats over hanging him.
No, hanging over him.
Hanging over him, sorry. People probably do want to hang him. The case is scandalous from all angles, and while Melee will probably manage to survive, it's sort of the Monica Lewinsky moment. Melee defended himself here. Davis is an expert in meme coin launches, but goes a step further. He has developed the method to effectively front-run the market and generate massive profit via insider trading. Meme coins have become hugely popular in the crypto world these days. They are purely speculative cryptocurrency tokens tied to a celebrity meme or digital trend, essentially anything that can be imagined. Through his firm, Kelser Ventures, Davis and essentially his whole family, his father, Tom, his brother Gideon, and fiance, his sister, and probably others, became experts at launching meme coins and orchestrating what is known as the rug pull. Their modus operandi consists of enlisting a major celebrity to attract demand for the token, using automated bots to buy and sell, known as snipping, as it is being released to the public, and taking early advantage of a homogenous price wave to make millions. This is exactly what they did with Melee and the Libra coin, which effectively demonstrates coordination between the president, his entourage, and the teams responsible for the crypto asset launch. Davis didn't act alone. He counted on technological and financial support from other firms. Meteora, whose co-founder Ben Chow was forced to resign, and another guy. So I want to find out who this guy is, because I've been really trying to figure this whole thing out.
It has a
in
Sam
this crypto world.
Bankman-Fried feel to it. Just
All
the
of
family.
the crypto does. All of the crypto does. Guys, I don't trust the Bitcoins. I don't trust it's all speculative. It's all designed. Cryptocurrency, if used properly, is designed to circumvent the financial system so that you can get around financial barriers that are around the fiat dollar. However, cryptocurrency has been co-opted by bad actors and the CIA wanting to get us into a digital currency so they can pump and dump anything at any time that they want to get into your brain, to get into your wallet, to get into everything that you do. You think the stock market is crazy going up and down? But Leah, Bitcoin isn't like that. Don't talk to me, criminal. That stuff goes up and down, but it's going up and up and up and up. It's not supposed to be an investment. Money is not an investment. Money is a thing. Money is a form of transaction. It's not supposed to go up and it's not supposed to go down. We use gold and silver because it is steady, and it has been steady throughout all of history. As we talk about in the book of Jeremiah, written 500 years before Judas went and hung himself, it was prophesied that he would there was a potter's field that'd be worth 30 pieces of silver, and Judas went and bought a potter's field for 30 pieces of silver. The gold and silver has traditionally, throughout thousands of years, remained stable in what it could purchase. Okay, it has never been an investment. You would buy the gold to use it for something, and you would use it as money. But if your money, and I would say this even as for gold and silver, if your money is going up, it's no longer money. So technically, in the world that we have right now, we really don't have any money. Money is stable. Money is not an investment. You can't invest in the very thing. It's a transaction. It's toilet paper. Okay? It's supposed to be used as a means of a transaction. That's it. Okay? We tell you, and I'm letting you know, that gold is being suppressed in how much it costs in fiat to purchase it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And so if we live in a world of fiat, gold should be about $10,000 an ounce. If we live in a world of fiat, silver should be about $750. Okay? Something is wrong. Remember, we've told you this before, that if you were being paid in ounces of gold, the same rate as how much gold was in 1971, the average wage was $10,000 in America. If your boss gave you your wage, $10,000 in gold in 1971, you would now have over $725,000. And that would be your wage.
Meaning, not that if you had hung on to it, meaning if you were getting paid the exact same amount in the equivalent of gold.
You'd be getting paid that much.
Getting paid that much.
Yes, that's what you'd be getting paid. This is a crazy world. And so if you would like to preserve your wealth before everything crashes and the dollar hopefully stabilizes to gold and silver, then we do suggest that you get a hold of gold and silver. And however you can. If you can go to a flea market and get silver. If you can have gold jewelry, which now nobody can afford gold jewelry anymore. You used to be able to afford gold jewelry. You could afford a gold necklace. You could afford some gold earrings just like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I can't afford it. It's all, we can do sterling silver now. That's the best we can do. Happy birthday. Okay. It's wrong to have it be that expensive.
It is.
Because we should be able to use gold. We should be able to buy gold. We should be able to have gold jewelry.
It's not so much that gold is any more expensive. It's that the dollar has been completely devalued. And that's what you need to understand. When you look at gold, you're like, wow, it costs so much more. Yes, yes, clearly Leah's analogy proves that it has, quote unquote, gotten more expensive. Yes.
In accordance to the fiat dollar, yes.
Right. What I'm saying is if you were getting paid $10,000 in gold back then, I don't think you were living at the lifestyle of somebody that would be living at the lifestyle of $750,000 a year. So in that sense, yes, gold is more expensive. But my point is that what you're more or less looking at is the devaluation of the dollar. Mm-hmm. And we were listening to a phenomenal podcast the other day. And I don't know if it was Rafi. We are going to interview Rafi on The Outliers. Yay. It'll air next Monday, not this Monday, not tomorrow, but we're going to interview him tomorrow, and it'll air next Monday. And I think you're going to see another side to gold and silver that you had not considered. But it was someone else I think that we were listening to, and he was saying the price of gold, the gold's value is not what needs to be revalued. That it was an ITM trading video that we were listening to yesterday. It's not that the gold needs to be revalued; it's that the dollar needs to be revalued. That's where we're at when we're looking at a solution. So I want to encourage you guys, like Leah said, however you can get it, get it. If you would like questions answered, you can go to resistancechicks.com/God's Money. Click on the link there, and you can schedule your free strategy call with Zhang Enterprises. Don't let the word strategy call confuse you. You can just call them and talk to them.
Right.
But what I love about what Lynette does and her entire team does is they understand the need for food, shelter, barterability, community, sustainability, all of these things. And so they're not going to just say, give me all your money and we'll give you gold in exchange. They will have a complete discussion with you on how to move forward and even start making regular purchases, you know, that you can budget. I'm so impressed with the team over at Zhang Enterprises. But even more than that, like Leah said, if you don't need any questions answered, you know what you want, you know what you need, just go and get it. Anywhere that you can get it, get it. But if you would like to talk to somebody, I'm so excited about what they're doing at Zhang Enterprises. Every time I see a video that Lynette has done, I see the anointing all over there. I want to call it a ministry, but it's a business. resistancechicks.com/God's Money.
It is God's Money. All right. So this was last Sunday, right after our show. If you go all the way to the left, Michelle, this is about 200, somebody said white racist settlers, lined up at the U.S. Embassy in Tishwane to apply for Donald Trump's refugee status. I guess
this is South Africa.
This is South Africa.
Wow.
You know what? Maybe if you didn't brutally murder white settlers there, or white citizens, then
they're not settlers anymore.
I know,
it was 1600s,
right?
Settlers. There's no settlers. There's no settlers in that group of people that we're looking at right now. Those are not settlers. Those are people that are they have been in South Africa probably for generations.
So Trump called Zelensky a dictator this week, which set the world on fire. I don't think that Zelensky is a dictator because he can't be a dictator because he's a puppet. But there are dictators. And actually, what's funny is that the United States is the dictator and the deep state is the dictator. So Donald Trump, as head of the United States now, can remove Zelensky at any time, at any moment, because it's our war. It's our money. It's our bomb. So Putin says, I will meet with Donald Trump anytime, anywhere.
He says, this must be prepared. I would be happy to meet with Donald. We haven't seen each other for a long time. We don't have any close relations, but still, in previous years, during the 4 years of work, when he was president, we met and very much discussed our interstate relations. I would be happy to meet with him today. I think he does too. This was evident from the nature of our telephone conversation. But we are in such a situation that is not enough to meet, to drink tea or coffee, sit and talk about the future. We need to ensure that our teams prepare issues that are extremely important for both the United States and Russia, including not only, but also on the Ukrainian track, in order to arrive at solutions that are acceptable to both sides. And this, of course, is not an easy task. I already spoke about this when Mr. Trump was a candidate for the U.S. presidency. He was talking about a rather short time for resolving the Ukrainian crisis, but after he began to receive information as the already elected president of the United States, intelligence agencies and so on, he changed his position. He said, yes, it will take 6 months. We won't talk about the timing now, but this is natural, by the way, absolutely natural. There's nothing special here. He started getting information, objective information, and that information changed his approach. So it takes some time. How much time will it take? I'm not ready to answer now, but we have a desire to hold such a meeting. And I would like to hold this meeting.
You know what? And the world goes crazy. But what's hilarious over here is you have Marco Rubio saying that Zelensky acted two-faced, and Trump is personally very upset.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, you can play this clip here. Two-faced.
When President Trump posts that President Zelensky is a dictator without elections.
Dictator?
What are you thinking?
I think President Trump is very upset at President Zelensky, and in some cases, and rightfully so. Look, number one, Joe Biden had frustrations with Zelensky. People shouldn't forget it. There are newspaper articles out there about how he cursed at him in a phone call because Zelensky, instead of saying thank you for all your help, is immediately out there messaging what we're not doing or what he's not getting. I think the second thing is, frankly, I was personally very upset because we had a conversation with President Zelensky, the Vice President and I, the three of us, and we discussed this issue about the mineral rights. And we explained to them, look, we want to be in a joint venture with you, not because we're trying to steal from your country, but because we think that's actually a security guarantee. If we're your partner in an important economic endeavor, we get to get paid back some of the money the taxpayers have given, close to $200 billion. And it also, now we have a vested interest in the security of Ukraine. And he said, sure, we want to do this deal. It makes all the sense in the world. The only thing is I need to run it through my legislative process. They have to approve it. I read 2 days later that Zelensky's out there saying, I rejected the deal. I told him, no way, that we're not doing that. Well, that's not what happened in that meeting. So you start to get upset by somebody. We're trying to help these guys. One of the points the president made in his messaging is, it's not that we don't care about Ukraine, but Ukraine is on another continent. You know, it doesn't directly impact the daily lives of Americans. We care about it because it has implications for our allies and ultimately for the world. There should be some level of gratitude here about this. And when you don't see it and you see him out there accusing the president of living in a world of disinformation, that's very counterproductive. And I don't need to explain to you or anybody else, President Trump's not the kind of person that's going to sit there and take that. He's very transparent. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels. And he sent a message that he's not going to get gamed here. He's willing to work on peace because he cares about Ukraine. And he hopes Zelensky will be a partner in that and not someone who's out there putting this sort of counter messaging to try to, hustle us in that regard. That's not going to be productive.
I can't help but look at Marco Rubio and think he's had work done.
I think they all have.
I'm just saying that this whole thing now, it's Burt Reynolds. Like, he used to be the only one.
I know. All right. Justin Trudeau, you can't take our country. Justin Trudeau tells Trump after Canada beats U.S. in Four Nations Hockey Championship. I didn't want to cover this, but if you want to go, there's stuff online where you can see the Canadians booing at the U.S. national anthem and the U.S. booing at the Canadians, and then the United States beating the Canadians, and then the Canadians beating the United States, and then yada, 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 and hockey solves all things.
Leah.
That's my lowdown on that story.
That's literally your lowdown.
Yeah, on that
was
story.
Was this trash talk that Justin was giving? Or was
you can't take us. We beat you in hockey.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So the president of Mexico is responding to Trump's officially declaring drug cartels terrorists. And she says, yeah, but you send over 74% of the firearms to supply the cartels from the U.S. Open border, y'all. You shut the border. Then you can't get the guns to the cartels. We're agreeing on that. Let's stop.
Are we going to play this
We're going to
video?
play a little bit, yeah.
Okay. All right. In this designation of the criminal groups...
En esta designación de...
I'm going to make this a little bit faster. As terrorists in Mexico, the so-called cartels.
The so-called cartels.
It's a decision that the United States makes. It's not a decision that they have consulted with us. It's just a decision that they made. It has to be very clear that for us, the construction of peace and zero impunity are essential elements in the security policy that we have proposed. That whatever the label that they use, evidently, we share with the government of the United States the fight against terrorism, against these criminal groups, particularly because of the impact they have on the violence in our country. Besides that, evidently, what did that say?
We cooperate
against trafficking, particularly of the synthetic drugs and all illegal drugs. But what we want to make clear in this designation is that we do not negotiate sovereignty. As I said yesterday, this cannot be an opportunity by the United States to invade our sovereignty. So they can use whatever label they decide But with Mexico, it is a collaboration and a coordination, never a subordination, not interference, and at least of all invasion.
Okay,
Today, we
so
are
you
sending
can-
the following initiative.
So here's the thing. They're a terrorist group, and Mexico could stop them at any time. They choose not to.
That's true.
Okay. This is a crazy story. A British couple traveling around the world charged with espionage in Iran. Husband and wife couple who were on a motorcycle journey around the world while arrested last month have been charged with espionage in Iran. Guys, there are places you don't want to go. You say, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm just going to do this. No, you're not going to be fine. You will not be fine. An Iranian judiciary spokesperson told the Mizan News in Tehran on Tuesday that the couple had collected information in several parts of the country while posing as tourists. Lindsay Foreman, so I'm going to travel the whole world just to get information on Iran. Okay? Why? They don't need to. They got real spies. Okay? They don't need a couple. This is insane. Lindsay Foreman, a motivational speaker, and her husband, Craig Foreman, were headed for Australia. Should have just went straight there. And crossed into Iran from Armenia on December 30th. They were detained by the Revolutionary Guards 300 miles south of Tehran. Looks like they were during a series of coordinated intelligence operations and while collecting information in Kerman City. The couple, who are believed to be in their 50s, are accused of having links to intelligence agencies of hostile countries. The British Foreign Office spokesman said, "We have deeply concerned reports that 2 British nationals have been charged with espionage. We are providing them with consular assistance." Yes, I guess Foreman said, despite the advice of friends and family, which strongly advises against travel to Iran for British nationals, we've chosen to keep moving forward. Yes, we're aware of the risks, but we also know the rewards of meeting incredible people. Hearing their stories and seeing the breathtaking landscapes of these regions could far outweigh the fear. On January 3rd, she posted another message on Facebook which said, "Travel continues to teach me that humanity's core is shared kindness, humility, and respect for one another. Sometimes it's the quietest moments that leave the loudest impressions." After that, the Facebook page activity stopped.
Oh, dear.
The Foremans, who described their journey as positive people, K2K, knee to knee, motorbiking around the world, have posted regularly on YouTube about their travels. Last month, and if you want to bring it up, it says they posted a video from the city of Tabriz in northwest Iran in which Lindsay Foreman said, "I feel content. I'm in Iran, having an amazing time." An Iranian tourist guide who appeared to be hosting the couple said in the video, "Please don't listen to the media. Come and discover Iran."
No.
Lindsay Foreman was carrying out a research project asking people what constitutes a good life and was due to present her findings at a conference on positive psychology.
Hello from Iran. I think we're on day 64. It's definitely Tuesday. It's New Year's Eve. So, my card today, I feel content. I'm in Iran having an amazing time with the lovely Hamid. And this image perfectly reflects how I'm feeling today.
And me, I am super grateful for being here, just in this lovely country with these lovely people.
Morning everybody, Happy New Year. Hamid, tourist guide from Iran. For me today, I feel proud. There are different meanings for me. As a tourist guide, I feel proud to describe my beloved country to a lovely guest, I should say the guests and my new friends. How beautiful my country.
So why do you think it is that they were charged with espionage?
If they are CIA, that's the best cover I've ever heard of because I'm legit sold that they are the weird psychology happy people.
Oh, they reek of it.
Like, I don't know. I'm feeling it. Like, I don't feel CIA coming from them. And if so, then I've just been duped.
Yep.
Iran's got one on me. Iran has a track record of detaining foreign nationals and accusing them of espionage, often releasing them in exchange for Iranians.
Oh, so they're just utilizing it's a hostage takeover.
So here's the thing: I'm gonna pretty much guarantee you that this is they just want a hostage situation here. This is a way to. This is like the meme coin. It's like they just hit the lottery. Very happy, wonderful people who are traveling the world. You just throw on an espionage sticker and then be like, okay, let's do an exchange. Britain paid.
Patriot Gallery says being arrested is part of the tourist attraction. Nice, Mom.
In exchange for their release, I say in 2022, there were a dual Iranian-British citizens were released after being detained for years in Iran, several years. In exchange for their release, Britain paid Iran the equivalent of $50 million. A $50 million debt dating to the rule of the Shah of Iran in the 1970s. The UK government accepted it should pay the, quote, a legitimate debt in an order for the 1,500 chieftain tanks, which was not fulfilled after the Shah had deposed and replaced by the Islamic regime. Last month, Iran released an Italian journalist.
Can you just stop so I can acknowledge that the scratching noise that you're hearing
Is
a little puppy trying to fluff the carpet.
Yes. Who had been detained for a month in exchange for Iranian businessman Mohammed Abindi, who was arrested in Milan. So I think what you really need to do is just go arrest some top-level Iranian. Yeah, because that's the only way these things work out fairly.
I don't want to be arrested.
You don't want to be arrested?
All right, Leah, we have about
okay, let's do
15 minutes. We got to end our show.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, so Barry sent me this. Speaking of tourists going to countries, let's fast forward this and play this a little bit. This is Americans driving the hard knock past the worst air road in the
beautiful
UK.
friends.
Barry sent me
Welcome
this as a
back
commercial
to
break, I believe.
Daydreamers Bound. We look forward to sharing all of our adventures with you, and we are so pleased that you choose to come along with us
is this the
each and
hardest
every
road to
time
drive
you
in
do.
the
So
UK?
we hope you sit back and enjoy.
So they clearly have a drone.
Clearly.
Okay, we're going.
Leah's got it on too.
Okay.
They don't really sound like
Another one.
Another 30% severe bends.
Okay, I'm gonna take a picture. Oh, you can see like snow-covered mountains.
Yeah.
There's the peaks.
So, a little rough.
There's a pull away ocean. Yeah. Tight corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see anybody else coming other than that one car.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely
Nice, you can see off the distance
enjoying
pretty good.
watching the new. I told you guys about this.
No sheep right by the road.
Don't scare them.
All Things Great and Small, BBC production, and they often drive on these little roads like this, and I'm
This is
just like,
just-
how can this even be?
I can't see where the dooley.
Whoa.
Sorry, friends, I'm making a lot of noise.
There's
Yep.
a person. Please don't run over
Ice.
the person.
Thanks.
Whoa. Now, granted, we have it on 2 times, so they're probably not driving.
Or as flat as it was earlier, it goes straight up.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh,
Time.
Whoa,
perfect
now what do we
timing.
do?
Perfect timing, friend.
There's a little See, and we pulled off on the wrong side of the road.
If you don't have a pull-out, what do you do?
Oh, there's a
Somebody
little bit
has
of
to
ice.
back up.
Yeah.
Oh, should I stop and spot? Can I stop?
Do you want? I don't want to get out.
Oh, you get up is what I was saying.
Oh yeah, I want to get up, and then we can, like we did the last time.
Oh my gosh, this is adorable.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
It does feel a little bit like
My ears are popping.
riding a roller coaster. Whoa.
Oh, I could not see the road.
Whoa.
Look at that view.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's also very bumpy. Their camera must not be picking up on the bumps.
Yeah,
This
'cause there's
is-
a lot of potholes.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah, I was scared.
That's awesome.
Whoa. There we go. Whoa.
Now I can breathe. Oh, I definitely could not breathe.
Just flat enough for you to stop. Let me keep going.
It didn't seem that scary, like a huge drop off the edge kind of scary.
It looks like a drop off the edge scary.
This is absolutely gorgeous. Did you see that sheep?
People are clearly growing stuff there. It's really beautiful.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, and then it goes from all the mountain ways like that into the nice pastures.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the way through
It sure
the
is.
mountains.
It's just watching people come and go.
All right, let's stop real quick.
It's awesome.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sending it, Barry.
Love it. And this was at where were they specifically? Hard Knot Pass. It doesn't say what part of the UK it was in though, does it?
I'm gonna guess Wales. I mean,
yeah,
where
it's
else
gotta be.
is it gonna
Where else
be?
would it be? You know.
So I want to play this one here. This guy is saying that Britain is stockpiling biomass to burn. It's just crazy.
Okay, these little Instagrammies are hard to play, but we're gonna get it.
I know.
Let's refresh and then unmute.
out to a field where a load of timber is being stored for a biomass plant. In the name of green energy, all of these logs are getting burned. Now, there's absolutely loads of them. I mean, look at the size of some of these logs at the bottom. They're absolutely massive. Now, the idea was, when the biomass plant happened in Sandwich, wood would have been locally sourced. So they built a biomass plant in one of the most woodland depleted areas of the country. And last time we done a Freedom of Information Act, some of this was coming from Latvia. Anyway, lorries do like 6 miles to the gallon. Think of all the chainsaws, all the machinery involved in getting all these giant pieces of tree into this field. And this pile goes on as far as you can see down there. It is a massive amount of logs. And I won't get into too many facts about how it's supposed to be poor quality wood, not for the timber industry, and how it's burnt in the turbine, how it generates electric. Without getting too much into it, how on earth is this green energy? In no way! It's absolutely crazy. Look at it all. And this goes on and on and on. Just so many bits of timber used for that biomass plant in Sandwich. Wow. It's absolutely crazy. And I can't believe it goes on. Now, we all know, for example, Drax Power Station in Yorkshire is heavily creaming off the subsidies that are available for green energy. And it's a shame, because of course I'm a massive fan of green energy. It is the only future. But this is taking the piss. This is some sort of crazy setup
Nature
where
is
the rich
screaming
are getting
out,
richer,
help me.
and they're greenwashing it as green energy.
Wow.
I mean,
so I'm disgusted. I can't even watch this anymore. It reminds me of cutting down the apple trees at Rousters and then just digging them out. I would just say, if that were the case, if you wanted to be green and do biomass, then everybody in the UK gets a wood burning stove, and then you just start selling bundles of wood at a cheap price, so that people can heat and cook. So then you just start encouraging people to build outdoor cook stoves. If you're going to bring in that much wood, you can't burn it on a massive scale like that, because that is not healthy for the environment. Like, that's not, that right there, the planet needs trees. The planet is screaming. That does not look like wood that just, and even if you're clearing out the wood from the, it should never be on an industrial scale, just like solar should not be on an industrial scale, or wind. Windmills have been a good thing for years. And then they created these things that don't even resemble windmills, but it look like airplanes in the air, and then cause people to have headaches. Whereas in the Netherlands, where they have real windmills and real water mills, then it's good for you.
I think that water mills are the way to go. I think they're not utilized at all.
Boom.
Do you know how many rivers and tributaries go throughout every square inch of
the world? Yeah.
And why do we need wind farms when you could just be using water mills?
Yeah, we've met one of our viewers. He had at one point built a power system off of a creek running through the backyard.
Marty Rainey does it all the time. So
now it has to be coming down a hill. It can't be flat.
There's a fantastic show called Homestead Rescue, and we've watched almost every season of it, I think. Where a man named Marty Rainey and his daughter and son go and they rescue people's homesteads, and they bring them up to snuff. Now, people live out in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes they struggle to get power, and consistently, Marty will utilize even the smallest little stream and runoff at like going down like the side of a hill.
Anytime he sees that there's an elevation change with water, and then it creates.
And he's using it to. Now it depends on how much power it's actually going to. And maybe it only powers like a PTO or something like that. Maybe it doesn't actually produce generated power.
Yeah.
Okay. But I have seen him do some phenomenal work with these things, and so. Like the fact that that's not utilized, almost like how much, like you have to live in the flat pancake of Oklahoma to not be able to utilize, and even they have rivers, yes, they dry up, but to not be able to utilize those things. But for like 2/3 of America, we have these waterways that are not even being utilized at all. So the fact that we need these wind farms, it's just laziness, it's garbage, it's propaganda, and it's a lie. All right, now we don't have too much time for Anything
I just
extra?
thought I
What
was
else
just
do you
going to
have?
show them. That's all I have. I just
That's the
wanted
end
to
of Leah's shows.
Yeah.
Barry says, I get my wood for free. I wait until I get a storm-felled tree and I cut them to burn with and I cut them with a chainsaw. Then I season it for a year. Well, yeah, exactly,
Can
Barry.
you
That's
play
what
this
everybody's
water wheel
supposed
so
to
we
do.
get an idea of what the...
Okay, I'm getting rid of Liz Truss here.
Yeah, we're done with that. She wanted Elon Musk to come and get the deep state out of the UK, but I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, for crying out loud. Everybody wants Elon Musk. Everybody wants Donald Trump.
You think
Stop
he's a
it.
hero? It's like Jesus. It's like some sort of like... It's like...
This is what we're talking about right here. You tell me why every river doesn't have multiple and it moves so slow. It's aesthetically appealing and pleasing. You know, like, this is dumb. So there you go.
So refresh and also play one more.
You mean go back to history?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, hydropower is freaking awesome, but land with flowing water is freaking expensive. Hydropower is by far the best option out of the three main off-grid options. That would include solar, wind, and water. Unlike solar and wind, hydro can produce power regardless of weather conditions. Solar panels don't like nighttime, don't like winter, they don't like clouds. Windmills only work if you're somewhere where there's wind. That said, water wheels only work when there's flowing water. And not just a little trickle, you need a large volume of water flowing across your property. The thing is, most land has sun. Lots and lots of places have wind. The vast majority of land that is for sale won't have a creek. And if you happen to find land that has a creek, the cost is almost always an extra digit. You can still easily find land for $2,000 an acre. But in those same areas, if the land has flowing water, you're easily looking at $10,000 to $15,000 an acre.
But
so
he
here's
is
the
saying
thing.
that it is
Hydropower
the best thing.
is
So if you've
freak-
got running water,
right,
you should turn it into power.
100,000,000%. But here's the thing.
And they
I'm
don't-
not just talking. So he's talking about individual landowners. Okay, I get that. Individual landowners all the way. It's difficult to find property that's going to always have that flowing water, which it doesn't have to be a massive flowing water. I've seen Marty Rayner do it with a lot less.
The bigger this. He said you need less water the more the incline. So
Exactly.
he did this. He saw this guy with this incline. I would say like a 20% incline or whatever, and it had just a small flowing creek. He's like, dude, this is it. Yeah.
But I'm talking about if they want to do industrial. You don't understand that a windmill is industrial, dude. Whoever this person was.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I get that everybody can have a couple of solar panels. I get that. But no, like, very few people are putting up their own windmill.
Well, there are hydro dams.
Yeah, there are. But everybody like, every town has a river. Every town should at least be generating power off of that river. It would be super easy. That's all I'm saying. That's all I gotta say. B. Riley says, I got solar panels. There used to be a low of hydro in Colorado. I think there still is. A lot. I think you mean a lot. So let me check over here on comments on YouTube. Let's see. Good news, Joy Reid has been fired. Well, look at that. Breaking news. Thank you, Buzzy. That's really great. Okay. I think that's it for comments. All right. So rounding off our show, we didn't hit the Pope Francis thing very hard as far as facts. I mean, we covered Pope Francis and the
He has
ridiculousness
double
of-
pneumonia. He had a breathing asthma attack, and he is not doing well. And he had to have a blood transfusion.
Yeah,
his platelets were low.
Right.
They had.
So
he had to have a blood transfusion.
Is it baby's blood?
He had to have. Oh, maybe the whole ruse with the hospital was like, we gotta get some blood. It's gonna be in the hospital. You know, we need to get him some of this.
I don't know.
Baby's kids' blood.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm not praying for Pope Francis. I don't have a problem telling you that. I'm not praying. I don't think that. So we've been talking about this. Our episodes. If you missed last week, we did 2 phenomenal episodes on forgiveness. Now, Leah, There are vessels that are fit for destruction.
I don't know.
I do not say that you should pray for those.
There's certain.
Those were sins. I just conflated two scriptures, but I'm not saying to pray for those vessels fit for destruction, that God can be glorified.
Yeah.
Leah's saying pray for Pope Francis's soul.
He needs to get saved. I don't know if he's ever come to know Jesus to deny him.
I don't think he can be saved. That's what he's blasphemed the Holy Spirit. You want to say
5 million times,
Leah? You want to say that
I'm not defending Pope
Paula
Francis.
White, is a vessel fit for destruction that's blasphemed the Holy Spirit, but the Pope hasn't? Are you kidding me? You don't have to be charismatic to blaspheme the Holy Spirit. He's the daggone Pope. Yep. Dude has blasphemed the Holy Spirit. Okay? Like, Lord have mercy on his soul, is a saying that people like to use a lot. I'm not convinced that we're supposed to say that. I'm not going to ask God to have mercy on his soul. I'm not doing it. You can. I'm not, because you know what? I'm leaving him in the hands of God. So yes, Leah, I want him to meet Jesus. And that's what I'll say. It's time for Pope Francis to meet Jesus. That's the way that I'm going to word it. James says, did they really fire Joy Reid? I don't know. Buzzy said so. I cannot confirm nor deny. That would be really hilarious. I don't know that people will tune in as much. I think that the only people that will actually watch that show are conservatives that get a kick out of it. And so I don't know that they would watch without her. I don't think it would be the same. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so there will not be an Outliers tomorrow night, I mean. So likely not an extra show for Monday, but we'll be back on Tuesday and Wednesday. But if you miss us on Monday nights and you want something to watch, you can go and watch our 2 episodes that we did on forgiveness last week, which I think were next level and really, really awesome. And maybe opening your eyes and your mind to things that you hadn't considered before, that maybe forgiveness isn't being preached the correct and biblical way in the church. I want to throw
something out you. Just randomly read something, as a warning. This person said, this has nothing to do with world news. 2 elderly,
or what I was just saying where you interrupted me. Got it.
Yeah. 2 elderly people I know have passed away recently. One fractured his arm and split his head open. The other was thankfully in a chair. The reason, low blood pressure.
Oh, no.
Why? Because the doctors think octogenarians should have a blood pressure of 120/80. Both are on blood pressure lowering medicines. Wow. There have been a lot of new studies that blood pressure is about of 150 over something, 160 over something are not that scary. People will take their blood pressure and they'll say, wow, the 135, that's a scary blood pressure. 135 over whatever is a good one. Okay. I'm telling you guys, my uncle passed out on blood pressure medicines. I don't believe that the lowering your blood pressure is as big of a deal as for some people for raising their blood pressure, because the low blood pressure causes people to pass out. Okay. And so a lot of people have low blood pressure and they get lightheaded and they pass out and they can hit their head. And if my Uncle Jack was not sitting on a thing where we could help him fall down, he would have fell and hit his head. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I am not a doctor, so please do not listen to me for medical advice, or Leah for medical advice, by the way.
Yeah, don't listen to me for medical advice.
I will say this. Walking is one of the greatest things that you can do for your health. And I have heard physicians say this the world over.
Yeah.
If they could prescribe one thing for their patients
that
would lower your blood pressure and lower your cholesterol and all of these things, get 45 minutes of walking in every single day. Okay. So there are things that you can do. I think that a lot of people have high blood pressure for a variety of reasons, but I want to say that there's probably a giant category of people that have high blood pressure because their cortisol levels are through the roof. So if you can find ways to actually lower your cortisol levels, which there's a whole host of things that you can do. That's why, they say diet and exercise
is raised for a reason. A lot of people have clogged arteries, but lowering your blood pressure doesn't mean it's going to make it better.
When they say diet and exercise, you do realize that exercise is good for you, not just because it burns calories.
Right.
Exercise is good for you because it lowers cortisol levels and a whole host of other things that it does for you.
Yeah.
But it increases certain good hormones inside of you. So I'm just saying, like, this idea of just taking a medication to lower your blood pressure, but you're not addressing your cortisol levels, you're not walking, you're not moving. You would be hard pressed to convince me that a vast majority of people that have high blood pressure, that couldn't be lowered a significant amount just by adding a 45-minute walk every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just saying, let's think critically and not go straight to the blood pressure medicines.
I just want to throw that out to people because that happened to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're Tuesday, Healing for the Fractured Soul. I've been working on it a lot recently. In the past, been formulating it. We're going to talk about the other kinds of detachment syndromes, ways of attachment actually, and how if we don't attach the right way, then we probably have some issues that we're dealing with. And I want to teach you guys a way of prayer. I've said this before about being your best friend, but I want to teach you guys a way of prayer when you don't have a therapist or a counselor that's going to feel really kind of weird and odd. And if you do it, if you pray the right way for yourself, and you can take yourself through an inner healing. And a lot of times raise your hand if you ever get stuck saying things over and over in your head on something. Well, oftentimes you'll call up a friend, or you'll call your parents, or you'll call somebody, and you'll like, hey, can you talk me out of this? Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes those people aren't available. They may be going through something themselves, or you may not have somebody to talk to. If you are a Christian and you keep yourself in the Word of God, you are feeding a part of you that has the great counselor. And then you can actually separate, because we are made up of several parts in our brain. And you can separate a part of your brain to then begin to work on and do inner healing on yourself. Put your little spectacles on, sit down with your little piece of paper, and begin to ask yourself questions. And somebody can help to regulate these emotions. And then you can begin to pray for yourself. And I want to walk you through that, because that is going to be the biggest key to walking through and getting healing, because we all get stuck in a rut. We're all in a place where, Lord Jesus, this emotion or this thing is overwhelming. Okay, I'm going to sit down. Talk to me about it.
That's good.
I'm going to write it down. Okay, now we're going to talk about it. Now we've talked about it. And then you, the other part of you that knows Jesus, I'm not talking about the part that's broken, because the part of broken might say, yeah, I know the Bible says that. That's still the part that needs counseling. Okay? You're accessing the part of you that's saved, that's in heaven, that you literally, it sounds counterintuitive. You need to separate your brain. It's actually the healthiest thing for you. When you can step outside of yourself and talk to yourself, then you can actually get healed. If you stay in and you've got 4 or 5 parts of yourself that you'll begin to say, yeah, that is really bad. Or I don't really have an answer for that. Or that person did that and it was really bad. And then you're just piling up and piling up and piling up, like you would call up a friend, and then they just feed it. They feed the monster. You may, at the end of a conversation with somebody, feel a little bit relieved because you threw it up. But here's the thing. When you're with yourself, there's the throw up just goes back on you. Yeah, okay? So it's actually kind of safer for other people around, for you to do deep inner healing with yourself, so that you can throw the stuff up, you can throw the stuff out, and you can say all the things that you want to say, or write them down, but you can't just stay there. And I think a lot of therapy keeps people there because they don't have, I know people call it self-help. This isn't self-help, okay? This is being a therapist for yourself, because the great counselor lives inside of you. And when something bad or traumatizing is happening, then you need to work on distinguishing parts of your brain, so you can call up and recall. And I tell you, I've been doing this a lot lately. I have Leah Faith. Okay, that's what I call the part of me that's filled with the power of God. And I will say, Leah Faith, I need you here right now. I need you to come and give us some answers. Okay, and you guys could call me crazy or whatever. It's psychologically proven. It's a factual thing. These are the inner things that people don't talk about when they go into therapy. They don't tell you. I think it's because they want to charge a paywall or something. Like or you think that you have to have a degree. I'm going to give you a class. The Holy Spirit is going to give you a class on therapy that it would take you years to get in school, and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of dollars to get in a therapy session. These are secrets that are kept secret because they sound really weird, so they keep them secret. But they're not really weird. It's totally through the Bible. And we've talked about this before, but we're going to go into more detail. The Psalms do this. David does this all the time. It just, he sounds like a neurotic person, but he's actually talking to himself. He's like, where's the real me? So we're going to talk about that. So please bring your friends and your family who have mental issues and mental problems.
That should be everyone that you know.
And because our first step, and it's for Christians, guys, but we can get to the Christian part and begin to work on that too. And then we're going to work on kind of separating parts of our brain so we can know who we're talking to at each given time, so that we can begin to develop and eventually integrate every person into faith. Go ahead.
Oh wow, no, that's awesome. So my last bits of what I want to round off the show with is you guys are amazing, and I don't think we emphasize that enough. So thank you guys for all of your encouragement, your little messages, comments on the videos. Even if we don't always get a chance to comment back, I love reading your comments. I love reading your encouraging notes, and we try to respond to emails. Sometimes I get a little bit buried, but I love your emails. I love your messages. Just you guys tuning in every single week throughout the week means a lot. And even messages that I'll get from people like, I don't always get to tune in, but when I do, I love it. Like, I love that. You don't have to be here for every single show for you to be appreciated by Leah and I. So thank you guys so much for just being a part of the Resistance Chicks family. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all of our subscribers. I've been noticing more and more of the little, I think you get a whale, like a little emoji next to your name on in the chat on Rumble if you subscribe and do like a little monthly subscriber thing on Rumble.
I want to say mom was saying a gold eagle with a $10 on it is worth $41,000.
Oh dear.
That's insane. That's not okay. Okay. That's not okay.
There's like one of them, I think.
Okay.
That's not a $10 golden eagle is worth that, you know.
That's what she was saying.
No,
one
not
of them?
all, just one specifically.
According to Lynette. And then get on a bike and go. We did this in 2003.
Oh, unless she's saying that the times have changed. I mean, I don't know.
Next, we sell everything and we get on a horse and go.
Amen. That's good. That's really good, Mom. If you guys want to support Mike Adams and what they're doing over at Brighteon, the Brighteon store has phenomenal products. Every time I go to the Brighteon store, brighteonstore.com, I'm always blown away with what they have. They have extra virgin coconut oil up on their main page, which looks amazing. I use this every day. The Hawaiian astaxanthin. It is the king of carotenoids. So you want to talk about even like free radicals going through your body. It's one of the greatest for regulating that and flushing the free radicals out of your body. My friend Catherine turned me on to astaxanthin because she was taking a different type, not the Health Ranger one, for she has what is it called? Endometriosis. And so that is something that she added that was a giant help to her. Now it does a whole host of other things. It's actually a natural sunblock as well, which is really, really cool because it's made from seaweed from plants, and seaweed actually has its own natural sunblocking capabilities or whatever. So I don't talk about the details of this as much as I probably should have. But it makes me feel amazing. It supports your joints and your tendons. It's good, like I said, for your skin. It's good for eye health. It's good for cardiovascular systems, and it helps the body recover from exercise. So I'm taking not Chiefs, it used to be called Chiefs, the Health Rangers Hawaiian astaxanthin every single day, and I love it. And I've been taking it since before I told you guys about it. So I just think it's phenomenal. So if you use promo code Chicks, excuse me. It's Chicks at the checkout store at the Brighteon store. You'll save 5% on your order. And then, of course, you'll be supporting the Health Ranger and Brighteon, which is just a phenomenal company and podcast. So there's that. And last but not least, I'm going to push this every single week. Resistance Chicks store. Resistance Chicks store. Shop.resistancechicks.com. You know what I thought about doing?
I love using this every day.
You know what I want to do?
My favorite.
I think we should take like a product a week and emphasize all the cool things about it. You know, so what I was actually specifically thinking about was your deodorant. One of the things that we've never we are taking.
You want to do a product demonstration of use?
That's really funny. We are taking for granted that people know that deodorants most deodorants have aluminum in them. And aluminum in them. It's so bad for your entire system.
Yeah.
Most deodorants will cause you to sweat even more.
And they have.
The antiperspirant properties actually create more perspiration.
They do. They clog your pores.
They clog your pores. Your body is
Yes.
designed to sweat because it releases toxins. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that you are going to all of a sudden stop sweating with the Leah's Perfume Day Jesus deodorant. But what I can tell you is as you use it, your armpits will start to regulate. They will start detoxing again. And you need even less and less the longer that you use it. So if you want a way to detox from the toxins in your body, one of the greatest things that you can do is even if you don't get ours, get a natural aluminum-free deodorant.
Yeah.
You don't want that aluminum in your body going into one of the most important flushing systems, which is your armpits. I don't think people quite understand how important and integral having only natural products on your armpits is. So we don't emphasize that enough. And I was like, you know what? I think I need to remind everybody that this deodorant is obviously aluminum free. But for those of you out there, you just watch our show and you're not really a health nut and you don't know anything. You've just been using your secret and your degree and your Old Spice, whatever it is, Axe that you love because you want to smell super whatever. I'm telling you, all of that stuff is bad for you. It is so bad for your entire system. So even if you don't get ours, please buy an aluminum-free, chemical-free. There's no extra perfumes. It smells amazing, by the way, but it doesn't have this overly perfumey smell, and it's for men and women that goes into your like clothes or anything like that. You just smell fresh. You smell like yourself in a good way. You don't smell like your stanky self.
That's probably one of the coolest things I've been able to put together. And we've been using it for years, so it's been tested and tried.
It's free of like parabens. Like it has nothing in it but good stuff. It has beeswax in it. It has lavender,
bentonite clay.
Actually, you can read the ingredients on the back here.
Zincolate is the hardest.
Zinc oxide, tea tree oil, lavender essential oil, and coconut oil and shea butter. That's it. Like those are the ingredients. That's it. I mean, if you can pronounce and you can eat this, and Vicky Natale says that about her products all the time. You could technically eat what's in there.
I don't know if you can eat zinc oxide, but
you could eat zinc oxide. I think you could eat it. I don't think it would. It's not going to kill you for sure. I'm not telling you to eat your deodorant stick. Don't do that. But okay, I think that's it. We will see you guys on Tuesday night for Healing for the Fractured Soul, Wednesday for Revelation Red Pill, Thursday for the Revolutionary Revivalist, Friday back again for our headline news, and of course every Sunday for World News Program. Leah, phenomenal show. We've had a great time, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and the start of the week. Remember to make God first and read your Founder's Bible every single day. We'll see you next time right here from ResistanceChicks.com. Take care.